upset the Steelers 13-6 to keep the AFC North race open. The Raiders lost 34-10 to the Giants to gain the inside track on the first overall pick. And last night, the 49ers beat the Bears 42-38 in a shootout to keep their hopes alive for the NFC's number 1 seed. After that game, the NFL announced the Week 18 slate. The Patriots will play the Dolphins at 4:25 on Sunday, the same time that the Denver Broncos take on the Los Angeles Chargers, as those two teams vie for the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. The standalone games next week are the Panthers and Bucks in an NFC South showdown. The Seahawks and Niners, those games are on Saturday. Then on Sunday Night Football, the Steelers take on the Ravens for the AFC North title. The Celtics suffered a 114-108 loss on the road to the Portland Trail Blazers last night. C's turned the ball over 20 times, including 6 in the fourth quarter. And the Bruins are in action tonight, visiting the Calgary Flames. Coverage starts at 8:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Happy holidays from Paige and the entire Awaken 180 team, wishing you a season full of joy, good health, and happiness in the new year. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Boston Talk Sports.
Trade Drake May.
We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Toucher
You might hate me, but you're listening.
and Hardy
Don't bother me. I'm at the Pickle Palace.
on 98.5.
I know what I'm capable of.
He said something about peanut butter, right?
Yeah. Boning, baby. Make America nut again.
That's gross. That's disgusting.
Let's talk about cheese.
What are you going to have for lunch?
I was at dinner with my wife and a friend.
Kitty, kitty, pussy, kitty, kitty, kitty. Flap, flap, flap.
Shut up, I'm trying to talk to Paul.
Toucher and Hardy
Good luck trying to put your finger in it when there's a million holes.
on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Let's go. Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Alex Barth in for the guys. AB, good morning.
Good morning, Mark. Great
Championship morning here in New England.
That's right.
Patriots, if you haven't heard, last night, not late last night, but last night, wrapped up the AFC East. Hat and T-shirt evening. Buffalo Bills lost, kind of in dramatic fashion. We can get into that. We'll get into a lot of the games over the course of the next 4 hours. But the Bills lose, Patriots, they win, and they're back on top of the AFC East. And that's a good feeling for all Patriots fans. When was the last time, maybe, that you celebrated a personal achievement or a team achievement? Anything that jumps out where you went hard to celebrate something that you or a team achieved?
Like a team I root for, like me personally.
No, whatever. I mean, it could be. I was thinking more of a personal achievement.
Personal achievement.
You really wanted to take a minute and celebrate it.
Probably over the summer.
Yeah,
over the summer. I mean, busy during the football season. Not that I haven't achieved anything, but
was there something specific you were celebrating?
No, I just got together with some friends.
Okay.
Kind of good summer kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking about it.
We didn't have hats and T-shirts. If that's what you're asking.
I was just thinking about it because it's obviously a nice moment when you're able to celebrate something like the Patriots were last night. I think they were on the bus listening to the end of the game. If I saw a video,
yeah, the team actually posted the video of it. It's pretty cool. Or like watching the game on the phones.
Yeah, it hasn't happened too often. I guess I won a state championship in high school in baseball, but that night I remember was my girlfriend's graduation party. The same night as the end, like the game was the afternoon, the party was that night. So I couldn't really. I was committed to going to the party. Obviously, my girlfriend wanted me to go. Her whole family's there. You can't get ridiculous. So I was just. So that would have been a time, but I didn't really take as full advantage of it as I guess I sure would have liked to. I guess getting married. That's probably be the big one for me. Yeah, I had a big. I mean, she was hot. She's hot. I knew she'd be a good wife and mother, so I kind of went hard. The wedding, the honeymoon, even the first anniversary. I was celebrating that puppy for a long. I'm still celebrating every day. But that's fun when you can do something like that. Whether it's a team event, obviously, I'm not going to celebrate. I'm not going to know if I can't get up to celebrate. When the old man softball team wins a championship. I haven't been a part of one. I don't think. No. But it's like, all right, we can have a beer, but it's not. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the same thing. But the Patriots were able to do it last night. Getting this job, I probably opened something coming over here.
There you go.
98.5 The Sports Hub was a big deal. Coming back to New England would have been one probably from Mississippi. Yeah, but nothing as significant professionally as.
So you mean like a big celebration? I thought you just meant like.
Well, I just meant something
this is cool
that you could accomplish that allowed you
getting
to
out of Mississippi's got to be pretty cool.
Getting out of Mississippi. I will, like, after the so last year when we finished the draft coverage, because that's always obviously a big thing for me. Every year I'm like, I just want to go sit on the beach because it's kind of like, I know it's still technically late April, early May, but that's like the start of my summer.
Yeah.
And so the day of the draft, after, the Sunday, because I come in, I do the Sunday show. And I don't know if you remember that day. It was like 40 degrees and like freezing rain.
Sure.
It's like, nope, I've been waiting on this for months. I want to go to the beach. And I went out to the beach and I plopped my chair down. I had a sandwich, I had a drink, and I was the only one sitting on the beach, but it felt great.
I love
sick
that.
Man.
I love that, though.
I was only there for about 30 minutes before I was like, this is ridiculous. But
I made my point.
Get to the beach.
That's what
going
you were
to the
set
beach.
on, and you made it happen.
It's exactly.
I love it. Yeah, it's good to celebrate things.
It is good to celebrate.
It's good to celebrate things. You want to enjoy life. You want to enjoy the moment. You want it to be special. You don't want to go. Having kids, I have 2 kids. You don't really celebrate. You celebrate having kids. It's kind of a weird one. Obviously, you're over the moon and you're happy, but I don't go out and have a drink, get drunk because, all right, the kids are here. Woo! And I'm, stuffing my face with champagne and alcohol. I don't think that's something you do. I think that's like a bad look. But, I respect the beach move.
It's kind of what a baby shower is, isn't it? I mean, it's like a hat and T-shirt day for the baby before the baby gets here.
You don't really get involved in that.
I mean, yeah, if you're a bad parent, you don't get involved in that.
The baby shower? I mean, I might have helped out with gifts or you show up at the end. Isn't that what you do? I don't remember the whole shower thing. But, yeah, I just, it's fun to be able to do stuff like that. And I think you need to take advantage and celebrate your success or people who are close to you's success. And, man, I think the Patriots have earned it this year with what they were able to do. Did they take calls in the first segment of this show? Can you do that?
You can do whatever you want.
All right.
Mark.
Well, Mark is on the line, and Mark is in Medford. We'll take Mark's call. Hey, Mark, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for taking my call so early. So I noticed over the past couple of years that a lot of players questionable on the injured list. And some of these players, they probably could have played, like, say, I don't know, a Lamar Jackson yesterday. Do you think he could have played yesterday with a little back bruise? Even though Derrick Henry did put the team on his shoulders yesterday, pulled the game out. But that game was important. And you know what? If you're bruised, that's fine, but you got to go out there and play. And I got a little suggestion for some of the NFL players in this league. Go to a hockey game. Take in 1 or 2 of those games. Those guys play 3-4 nights a week, nonstop hitting boards, ice, sticks, everything, and they get right back out there. I think they need to take a page out of that book. What do you think?
So, I'm not going to lie.
I think it's a weird way to be happy about the Patriots winning the AFC East champion.
Well, I mean, he has a take. The thought did cross my mind of that Herb Brooks comment to whoever that was during the first period of the game against Sweden or whatever. A bruise is a long way from the heart. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to question Lamar Jackson's toughness. I would have thought a bruise, which happened 6 days prior, you would have been able to find some way to play in a game where your season was hanging in the balance. I just would have thought that would have happened, but it didn't. So I don't know. Maybe it was really bad. And John Harbaugh, I thought, was careful with his wording to make it so he wasn't calling out his quarterback or questioning his quarterback's toughness or anything like that. But I was surprised that he didn't play in that game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too. Now we'll see if he can get back this week because they have a Sunday Night Football division championship this week. He has to play in this one, but Hundley actually didn't look bad for him.
No, not at all. Not at all. So the Patriots, they find a way to get the division championship despite the fact that it happened when they were not on the field. They were traveling. And it's just like, what a turnaround. I mean, when you think of what they were doing last year and where nobody saw what we've seen this year in terms of the wins I mean, here I was saying this last night, Alex. They haven't all year. They haven't played a bad game. You know what I mean? They haven't played.
No.
They played bad quarter, a bad half, a bad start. But they've been, even the 3 they lost, they were in every one of them, and you could argue they should have, or could have won each of those games. I mean, up 21-0, 5 turnovers, you lose by a point, or I'm sorry, a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then the Raiders, who are literally the worst team in the league right now.
That one's going to go down as probably the weirdest result in the NFL this year.
It is. Because they were handled in that game. I mean, Geno Smith kind of had his way.
Yeah.
The defense for the Raiders really stymied the Patriots in that second half. And it's disappointing because that cost them the 1 seed, that game.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens this week, but that's week 1.
I don't even think Herbert's going to play.
You look at last year, that Bengals lost to the Patriots in week 1 cost them a playoff spot.
Yeah.
So that's just week 1 of the NFL. It's weird, but no, you're right. They've shown up, and I think they deserve a ton of credit for it, and it's something that maybe hasn't been talked about as much as it could be. The hardest thing in the NFL is consistency. And what separates the good teams from the great teams is the good teams play their best game, 7, 8, 9 times in a season. The great teams can play their best game 12 or 13. Nobody plays their best game 17 times a season. It just doesn't happen. And the Patriots haven't done it. They haven't played their best game in every game, but they've shown up in every game to your point. And that kind of consistency is so hard and so rare in the NFL. It's a testament to the coaching staff for keeping these guys ready the way they have.
I mean, I understand it's the NFL, but still, and the schedule isn't. The schedule is what it is. We've heard all the talk about their schedule, and it's not hard and the easiest one in the history of the league.
But you still got to show up every week. Like teams,
still the NFL.
Teams lose to bad teams all the time. They have days off. They lose track of their focus or whatever. Look at the Steelers yesterday. There's no reason the Steelers should have lost to that Browns team. None. And now they might miss the playoffs because of it.
6 points. A disgrace. Especially after the urgency you would have thought would have been there after watching Baltimore do what they did. 6 points. That's what you come up with.
By the way, you earned that bad schedule. So that's I think that's kind of like a weird thing to say about this team. You got that bad schedule because you were horrible last year. And a lot of bad teams last year are still bad this year. Yeah. It does count for something that you're able to not only bounce back, but bounce back as lightning fast as this franchise has.
It's a preset formula. And that's just where it fell in the rotation. Where you fall in the standings only decides 3 games. That's it. So, like I saw Bills fans chirping yesterday, the Bills have to play the defending Super Bowl champions, but the Patriots have to play the Jets. Bills didn't play Jets twice this year, or I guess are going to play them next week.
They lost to Miami.
Right. You still got to show up and win the games.
Yeah.
Which is, I get there's some bad teams in there, but to do it this consistently is not easy in the NFL.
And you know what? It doesn't matter. I don't buy into it. I don't think it makes you more prepared for the run in the play. Execution makes you more prepared for a good playoff run. And I heard somebody, maybe it was Nick Wright, or somebody was on one of the shows recently, and they were picking apart the Broncos because their wins, despite the fact that they have the number 1 seed and all this, their wins against the bad teams weren't impressive enough. So, okay, they beat some good teams. They had some good teams on their schedule. I forget. They beat the Packers. They beat the Eagles. There's probably, they beat Kansas City earlier when Mahomes was still playing. So they beat some good teams. But then when they played some of the bad teams, those wins weren't impressive enough. So, hey, they had a tough schedule, but then the bad games, the bad teams that they played, they didn't beat them by enough. So we're going to pick that apart. So you can never win. There's always going to be, unless you win every game by 3 touchdowns against good and bad teams, it doesn't matter. So that, I don't think it's worth getting crazy about. This is the schedule. Sometimes the teams you think are going to be bad end up being good. Sometimes the teams that are good end up being bad. I mean, look at how does that win over the Bucks look now? What happened to Tampa? What happened to their offense?
How's that win against the Panthers look?
Right.
We all thought that was like one of the easiest games of the year. And
I didn't think that was a noteworthy victory at the time.
Right.
It's one of the few playoff teams that you might have beaten during the regular season.
That's right.
I mean, they beat the Rams.
Yeah. They beat the Rams good. They kind of beat the bag out of them.
How many points did they score in that game? So it's just, Look, there's a lot of things. We're going to talk to Mike Reiss a little bit later. We'll get his perspective on all of this, but it's just, I feel like this team, this turnaround was beyond anybody's expectations. And I can't help but wonder, where is Gerard Mayo? What would have happened had he still been the head coach? Because I thought they were going to, I give Robert Kraft credit for swiftly and decisively moving on to Mike Vrabel. I mean, I thought they were going to keep him and give him another year.
I thought so too.
And they didn't, and it's worked out. But you just got to wonder, if it was Mayo and May and McDaniels, are they in this spot? I don't know.
And it'll be interesting to see the fallout from that, because it's a copycat league, right? So we saw the Jets look pretty rough yesterday. What's going to happen to Aaron Glenn? And it'll be interesting to see if more teams try to use what this Patriots model is now.
Which is what? I mean, what is the Jets? The Jets are so pathetic, AB. People actually paid money to go and watch that team play.
Well, the Patriots fans who paid money to go yesterday.
Yeah, but they had a reason. I'm talking about the Jets supporters. How do you go there in good faith?
That was brutal. And they're not even going to get, I think right now they'd have like the 6th overall pick. They're not even going to pick. It might change a little bit based on next week. I think that there's some teams that are playing each other that they'll get a little bit of help, but yeah, they gotta do something to shake it up. Oh no, they're in the 3rd spot right now.
But I don't even think that's good enough. You know, unless they hit on the closest thing that we've seen since Tom Brady, or to Tom Brady since Tom Brady, I question. I mean, did you see the graphic that came out the other day that said, or that outlined the I think it was 3 players that played for the Jets that are now Pro Bowlers on other teams?
Yeah.
Like Sam Darnold, Quinnen Williams, and somebody else. I mean, they just can't, no matter who they have, it's a black hole. They just can't get anything accomplished.
My favorite stat from the broadcast yesterday was Nick Folk is the last kicker, or was the kicker for the last Patriots playoff team in 2021, and was the kicker for the last Jets playoff team in 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, what Rex Ryan did there was incredible. In 2 straight AFC
15 years
games.
ago.
I mean, it was 2 straight AFC championship games. They had an identity. That's something that you're not going to see that. I can't, and there's so many, I feel like it's in your face more because so many media members, I feel like, root for the Jets. You know, Greeny, Mike Greenberg loves the Jets, and there's a few others that are Jets. So you just like feel their misery. It's pathetic. I mean, that team is pathetic. Everything about, they should almost make it, if you're an owner and you have X amount of pathetic seasons in a row, you should get the team taken from you. You should be forced to sell.
That wouldn't be a bad.
I mean, I know that's unrealistic. You own the team, but it's just, I feel bad for those fans where ownership is such a bad situation.
There's certain teams that are never going to be competitive, and it's a shame.
It's because of the owners. I mean, there's obviously a problem with the way Woody Johnson does business or something, because they can't figure it out. No matter who comes in, veterans, rookies, first-round picks, top 5 picks, quarterbacks. I mean, it's not like they haven't had talent. They have talent. They have guys. They have some dudes. I mean, you got to be able to figure it out a little bit.
I mean, if it was up
Coaching,
to the Mara family, and if it was up to Mark Davis, do you think the Raiders or the Giants take the field yesterday, or are they like, nah, you know what, let's just forfeit? We're not really trying to win a game here in the first place, right?
They're ruling everybody out left and right all week.
Yeah. Who is it? Mendoza? Is he the one that people want? Is he the consensus number 1 pick?
Consensus number 1 quarterback.
Number 1 quarterback,
yeah.
So not the number 1 pick necessarily.
He could be. He probably will be if the Raiders get it, I would think. But, we'll see. There's some good linemen.
And that's another thing. I still find it completely bizarre that Tom Brady owns the Vegas Raiders, is part owner of the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
But he's out there broadcasting games. He's on a social media thing. It's something he's making a comment about the Patriots winning the AFC East. Maybe it wasn't him, but his image is up there.
Oh, that Fox Sports graphic.
Fox Sports.
Yeah. I saw that.
I mean, he's the owner of the Raiders, He's going to be in on deciding whether or not to keep Pete Carroll, whether or not to draft the quarterback 1 overall. I mean,
neither of those should be tough decisions, though.
No, it shouldn't be. But he did want Pete Carroll in there, didn't he?
He did, but look at what's happened.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're going with the old head at this point. Probably not what you want to do. It looked great in week 1. I thought Chip Kelly was going to be a force when they were here in week 1. Like, wow, what a great hire, great steal. Nope. So a lot to talk about here this morning with the Patriots, the NFL, anything you want. What was the thing that you last celebrated from a personal standpoint? I'm interested in that too. 617-779-0985. We're getting you set for New Year's Eve. If you want to talk some college football, AB, playoff games coming up.
I don't think the AB thing is going to stick.
You don't like it?
No.
Are you offended by it?
It's
I don't
Barth.
care.
Do you not want it?
I don't care. Most people call me Barth. I've been called AB.
Alex is his own man, but as somebody that is trying to make so many nicknames stick with me, I don't think that one's going to work, man.
So when I worked for the Lowell Spinners, everybody there called me AB, but that was the summer right before it was like leading up to. I think our last game was like 2 days after the Patriots signed Antonio Brown.
Okay.
So I'd heard AB all summer, refer to me AB this, AB that.
That's what
and
I
then
think
suddenly
when you say it,
AB,
yeah.
and it becomes a whole other thing. So that was
Lasher Park.
The Lasher Park. That's right. So
Lasher.
I always think of the Lowell Spinners, who are back, by the way. When people call me AB. Yeah, they're going to be a summer college team.
Nice.
Summer college league team, yeah.
UMass Lowell played their baseball games at
Still
Lasher.
do.
They still do.
Yep.
Yeah, they were really a good program, UMass Lowell. All right, when we get back, more football. This is Toucher and Hardy with Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
So that was the score that put them in position to do what they wanted to do there, either kick the extra point, go for two. I thought they were going to pull it off, Alex. I thought they were going to find a way to get it done. I think that would have been another signature moment for Josh Allen. I thought he was going to kind of reinsert himself in the thick of the MVP discussion. Nope. Thanks to Sean McDermott and this wide pass on the following 2-point conversion, Buffalo loses, and the Patriots are AFC East champions.
Comes down to this. To win or lose. Allen looking to throw. Pressure throws. Incomplete. Don't see a flag. Eagles going to hold on.
All right, so first of all, let me just say about the throw.
Yeah.
I was shocked that it was that off.
I mean,
he misfired
Shakir
that back.
couldn't even dive for
No,
it.
it was not even close, and I was shocked. Not a hard throw, not an easy throw. He's sort of rolling out to his non-throwing side. But, I mean, that's Josh Allen.
He makes
That's
that throw
any
all the time.
athlete
For the
that's
reigning
a thrower
MVP,
can make
you're
that throw.
expected to make that. For the reigning MVP, you're expected to make that throw.
He couldn't even get a hand on the ball.
Nope.
That's how wide it was. I was shocked.
And he's open. It's not like it was a tight window.
No. He was open. And, I mean, it's an easy – he's just running across the back end line. I mean, you know where he's going. It's not like there was a miscommunication as to where he was trying to get to, or you thought he was going to be – he stopped or hesitated. He was running straight across, and he just missed them wide. I could not believe that. What did you think of going for the 2 points?
I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I get you want to end it there and all that, but the Eagles offense, they had like 19 total yards in the second
17.
half, something like that. 17?
Yeah.
I thought I was underestimating. What are you afraid of going to overtime? And the defense was gassed. The play disparity going into the 2-minute warning, and the Bills ran a handful of plays after the 2-minute warning, but I remember calculating it. The Bills had run 40 offensive plays to the Eagles 17. That defense was on skates. Kick the extra point, go to overtime. The Eagles aren't going to be able to do anything. At the very least, you go down and get a field goal. I know they had a backup kicker, but man, Sean McDermott continues to get in the way for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. You want to know why the Bills haven't gotten over the top? That guy is the main reason. Josh Allen is not innocent in what happened yesterday. He had some moments that I think deserved significant criticism, not just the 2-point conversion. Had a chance to jump on a fumble, instead was complaining to the officials about how he got hit and allowed the Eagles to recover a fumble and set up one of their only really positive offensive sequences.
Especially in a game where offense is at a premium.
Right. But just brutal stuff for McDermott there.
Just to look at it from the other side for a second. I'm not going to destroy him because maybe, and I'm not saying I do agree.
McDermott or Allen?
McDermott. And
Okay.
I do agree with you. They should have, if you're talking about winning that game, absolutely go to overtime. Go to try to kick the extra point. I know they just had one blocked, but I mean, what are the chances they block two? Have some faith.
And I'm sorry, if you can't hit an extra point,
right,
you deserve to lose the game.
You're in a bad spot. But let's just say they're thinking about, okay, the playoffs are looming. Allen was banged up a little earlier. He hobbled off. I think it was a foot. We see the Patriots crush the Jets earlier in the day. They've got Miami at home coming up. And you're not interested in playing extra football to risk further injury, to risk injuring Josh Allen, any of those things. And it's like we could still win the game, and the percentages. What I would have done, the other thing I didn't like, why didn't they give Allen any opportunity to run? He dropped back so deep, so far. There was no chance. Give him a run pass option, a rollout. He should have been in Vince Young mode.
To your point, he's banged up. And
but
I think
it was
that
a 2-point conversion.
I think that was and you're right. Okay, it's, hey, do you have one in you? But I think they used that on the 4th down when he heaved it deep to Cooks, or 3rd down or whatever that was. He didn't look right in that second half. Mm-hmm. He hurt the foot last week. The reporting was it got better all week, but then he tweaked it again, or he tweaked his ankle on that leg or something early in the second half of that game. He really wasn't moving. He had the touchdown run, but that was on a tush push. He had a couple other plays where he was moving around, but he didn't look like himself. I'm telling you, he's not right. Mm-hmm. But that's all the more reason. Again, kick the extra point and then give the ball to James Cook, who's been your best offensive player for the best last month and a half anyway. Give the ball to James Cook. And I know that they had kind of contained him, that Eagles defense. But again, They were absolutely gassed, and they haven't been a great run defense this year to begin with. I think part of it is Allen's not right, and they don't know what to do when he can't come out of the phone booth and be Superman because they have no other way to establish any offense.
No, they don't have enough receivers, and everybody keeps talking about this is their chance, this is their time. The Ravens are down, the Chiefs are out, the Bengals are out, no Burrow, no Mahomes. No, this team is not as close to as talented as they've been in the past. They have no number one receiver. They barely have a B receiver. I mean, Cooks played as a B yesterday. But, I mean, who else do you trust? Shakir's okay. Kincaid I like, but, I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to ride them. I just don't think they're dynamic enough offensively for a real true playoff run with some of the other teams in the AFC and how they're playing. But I just wonder if McDermott was thinking about the big picture and thinking, Allen's already banged up. The chance we win the division, get the seed or whatever is not high. Let's just see if we can win it here. But I just hated the play call, even though the guy was open. The guy was open. Well, he should have hit him.
That's the other thing about it. Like I always say, whether it's the 2-point conversion, whether it's going for it on fourth down, the decision to go for it is only as good as the play you call.
Yeah.
If you don't have a play you feel good about, but you're like, oh, well, the math says go for it here or whatever, but you don't have a play you feel good about, what's the point? But if that's McDermott's reasoning, I'm sorry, you got to be like an apex kind of competitor to be able to lead a team to a Super Bowl as a coach. And the Bills know what the Dolphins can do. They lost to them early this year.
Right.
You can't just be, we're not going to win the division. You can't have that
looked
approach.
Good yesterday. You never know. Patriots don't know him at all. Listen, can I just make one other broad statement that I just want to, because I thought about this yesterday. I want to get this off my chest and just make sure I make note of this while we're here after that game last night. Analytics, we know, has sort of taken over. It's a huge part of the NFL. It's why a lot of these teams go for it on fourth down. But I thought that game last night was another perfect example of why those people that lean on the analytics and those nerds and the people that do it can shove it up the tailpipe. Because here's the thing. Do analytics come into play when you are looking at a team across the line that has had 17 yards and is completely sputtering offensively in that game, in the second half? Does it come into play in that moment? No, it does not. All it says is you go for it, you get this percentage to make it. But that might not be. I mean, you have a bigger, higher percentage of winning because Philly was doing nothing offensively. And that needs to be factored in.
Just to piggyback on that, how does it factor in freezing rain? How does it factor in that Josh Allen's foot isn't feeling great? Like we could,
right?
And that's football. It's a game of variables. No two situations are the same. That I'm not anti, and I feel like the anti-analytics people get pigeonholed into, you just don't want to go for it. You want to be super conservative, like football from 30 years ago. No, I just think you really have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. In that moment, given the way that game was going, I don't think going for it made sense. That doesn't mean I think going for it down one at the end of the game never makes sense. I think there's times where it's applicable. That's just not one of them. With everything that was going on, I think it was abundantly clear. Again, Sean McDermott, in the biggest moment, completely lets go of the rope, loses sight of the bigger picture. He is the number one reason the Bills have not gotten over the top.
I'm not going to be as hard on Sean McDermott. I'm not. I think there was a case to be made to go for it and to just end the game, get out of there, try to stay healthy. And the guy was wide open. They had a play. He was open. They missed him. The better idea would have been going to overtime. I agree with that, but I'm just not going to crush him because I thought the play was there.
Big picture, who deserves more blame for that loss, Josh Allen or Sean McDermott?
Josh Allen.
I'm with you. But I think they both deserve blame.
Sure. Another thing that happened last night, Chicago and San Francisco, back and forth. It was like another game of the year that we saw in prime time last night in San Francisco between the Bears and the 49ers, but the only score that mattered was the last one.
We know if you leave the Bears a little bit of time this year, what's been happening? Use check in motion. Still Purdy with a clean pocket. It's complete. It's Jawan Jennings to the pylon. Touchdown! The Niners take the lead.
So Brock Purdy was good last night. I mean, I don't know what to make of this 49. I was out on the 49ers, Alex. I thought they were done. I thought the window was closed. I thought they were done. And yet here they are. What are they, 11-4? 12-4?
12-4.
Okay, they're right there. for the number one seed.
They
in
win
the
next
NFC.
week. They have the one seed.
They
That's gonna
control
be
their own destiny.
Sunday night, yeah.
That's an incredible story. They didn't even have George Kittle last night, right? He didn't play last night.
No, he was out.
And they beat a good Bears team, and they outgunned the Bears. So Purdy, this team, right there with all the other good teams in the NFC.
Yeah, they finally got healthy, and they're turning the page, and it's all clicking. But we've seen this from San Francisco before. You got to be able to do it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to do it, if they are going to make this run. How many times has Kyle Shanahan choked away the Super Bowl? But they looked good last night. They looked good offensively. Everything was clicking. I should say looked good offensively because the defense didn't. But that's one of those games to, the counter. That's a game where maybe you go for it because the defense can't get a stop. But
right.
I would take that game again in the playoffs. And it's not unrealistic that we get that.
How far away is Caleb Williams and Drake May? Are they close? Is it a close, between the two of them?
They're pretty close. I think Drake May, their ceilings at this point are relatively comparable. I think the difference is Drake May's more consistent. Mm-hmm. Caleb still has games where he looks unsure of himself, and it's just not as clean. What you talked about in the last segment, just the consistency with what Drake May has done, and that's significant. That's not a little thing. But, those two guys are the head of the class. Jaden Daniels was obviously great last year, but he's had some injury issues. Bo Nix has been good, but I just don't think he's on that level. He's working with a lot more than those two guys are, and he hasn't had to shoulder the load the way those guys have. And then, obviously, J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix we're still waiting on.
In a little later, we're going to have a chance for you to win tickets to the Dolphins-Patriots game next Sunday at Gillette, so stick around for that. That'll be coming up on the contest line. Speaking of the phones, Tony is in Webster. Hey, Tony, good morning.
Good morning. I want to chime in. Yeah, good morning, guys. I wanted to chime in. Do you guys agree really important to win the next game because it locks them at least the 2 seed? And if they're the 2 seed, either one of two things happen. The Chargers win and we get the 1 seed, or the Chargers lose and we play the Chargers. What do you think?
I would like to see the Patriots win the game. No sense in losing now. I don't know what was his overall angle. I think it's a decent situation for the Patriots either way. I will say this though, Alex.
Yeah.
The Chargers, I don't not like the matchup at all. However, I do think that you'd be playing a Chargers team who would come in here with 2 thoughts. Number one, they dominated your ass last year in Gillette Stadium, and those mirror neurons, that feeling they had will resurface. I'm not saying it guarantees they'll play well, but they're going to come in with a good feeling having come here last year, and really McConkey had a huge game. They were really good in that game.
Yep.
The other thing, they're going to look at a Patriots team that doesn't rush the passer all that well with the front 4. And I think they'll think that they can work with that, with the Patriots and how they kind of don't get after the quarterback all that well. I think they'll be able to feel like they're going to be able to be productive with Herbert and that offense.
Yeah, I still think that's the most favorable matchup. You have a West Coast team coming east.
Sure.
They're going to have to come play in the cold, which historically has not worked out for them. I know there's that game last year, but that's late era Gerard Mayo.
Totally
Patriots.
different team. I get it.
Right, and the Patriots have not rushed the passer well, but the Chargers' offensive line is also very banged up. And they may be able to get some pressure in that game. And ideally, you're going to get Harold Landry back for that. You're going to get Milton Williams back for that. We may see them be able to kick it up there a little bit with the juice. So I think of the wild card options, the Chargers are the most favorable. To the caller's point, it's kind of a win-win as long as the Patriots win the game. If the Broncos win, you get the Chargers, which is more favorable than Buffalo or Houston. Or if the Chargers win, then you just get the 1 seed. You don't worry about it as long as, there is one caveat, as long as the Bills beat the Jets, which should happen. We all saw the Jets yesterday. But if you're the Bills...
Tell me what happens if the Bills don't beat the Jets, because there's a chance, I would think, Allen doesn't play in that game.
So Mitchell Trubisky should still be able to beat the Jets. Sure. If they do, though...
we saw yesterday.
Well, but here's the thing. If you're Buffalo, and we saw it last year, they didn't mind losing that game. They were actively trying to lose it. Would you rather go to New England, Jacksonville? Well, I guess if you win it, you can try to get up to the 5 and try to get to Pittsburgh. Everybody's going to want the 5 seed. So you get the AFC North team, Pittsburgh or Baltimore. But I don't. It would depend on what Houston does too. But I think if the Bills lose and the Chargers lose, the Bills are still the 7th seed.
Okay. I'm just interested.
We need the Jets to lose next week. I don't. That's a realistic expectation.
They're probably going to be trying to lose, I would think.
Probably.
The draft pick in line or whatever. I'm just thinking about if Lamar Jackson comes back. Now, the Ravens obviously had the big win. Derrick Henry went crazy. If Lamar Jackson comes back and they look great, they beat Pittsburgh. Jackson looks like he's kind of back. Even if it's just a one-off, he looks the part. They win the division. They go to the playoffs. Do you think teams would rather face New England or Baltimore? There's a lot of history in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, they've been there. And you can become prisoner of the moment real quick if they look good and beat down the Steelers next week. If Jackson looks good.
Yeah, I still think you'd rather play Baltimore because something has seemed off with that team all year. Now, look, if they get in, they'll have won a couple late, and they'll be entering the playoffs hot, and there's something to be said for that. But, I mean, the Patriots just have a much more complete body of work to this point than the Ravens do.
Sure. I'm just saying, Zay Flowers had a pretty good night against the Patriots. Didn't win that game. Jackson comes out of that game. Henry goes off in Green Bay. They win that game big. If Jackson comes back, that game's in Pittsburgh, right?
Yes.
I think it's in Pittsburgh. If Jackson comes back and specifically himself plays a big game and they win, all of a sudden you got 3 offensive players that have played pretty well of late. You got a team that you could argue has found it at just the right time. Team with a lot of playoff experience and a coach that's been there for a million years. I could see them becoming a team you don't want to face. So I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just wondering what will happen there. It won't be the Patriots' problem in the first round because they'll be a division winner. But nonetheless, that could be an interesting story. And the Steelers, I personally, from a fan perspective, don't want to see Pittsburgh in it. I don't think they're going to do anything. I think it'd be more interesting if Jackson comes back, looks good, and they get in, and let's see what happens. Because everybody's been talking about the Bills. It could be the Ravens who could be the one that take advantage of Mahomes and Burrow not being there and all that. But let's see what happens. 617-779-0985. We're going to talk to Mike Reiss at 720. As I said, we're going to have a contest for you to win tickets to the Dolphins-Patriots game at Gillette Stadium. That's all coming up on Toucher and Hardy. Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, in for the guys.
Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Patriots are the AFC East champions. First time since 2019. They clinched the division yesterday, which started with a 42-10 win over the Jets. Drake May threw 5 touchdowns in that one. And then the Bills lost to the Philadelphia Eagles 13-12 to officially clinch it. They had a 2-point conversion to win the game in the final seconds that fell incomplete. Other notable scores from yesterday, the Browns upset the Steelers 13-6 to keep the AFC North race open. The Raiders lost 34-10 to the Giants to gain the inside track on the first overall pick. And last night, the 49ers beat the Bears 42-38 in a shootout to keep their hopes for the NFC's number 1 seed alive. The Week 18 slate has been announced by the NFL. The Patriots will play the Dolphins at 4:25 on Sunday. That's the same time that the Broncos take on the Chargers as the two teams vie for the number 1 overall seed. The standalone games for Week 18, Panthers and Bucks and Seahawks 49ers on Saturday, and then Steelers and Ravens on Sunday Night Football. The Celtics suffered a 114-108 loss to the Portland Trail Blazers on the road last night. The Seas turned the ball over 20 times, including 6 in the fourth quarter, and the Bruins are in action tonight visiting the Calgary Flames. Coverage starts at 8:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by IBEW 103 and Nika Electrical Contractors. IBEW 103 celebrating 125 years of powering Greater Boston. To find a qualified contractor for your next electrical, telecom, or security project today, visit thepowerprofessionals.org. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Have you tried the good stuff yet?
for that 7:20 Patriots Dolphins tickets, final regular season game of 2025 at Gillette Stadium of the 2025 season. Earlier in the show, I called Alex AB. Ryan doesn't like it. I do have this bad habit of doing that. Just kind of.
You try to be the nickname guy?
Yeah, the nickname guy. I guess I don't do it out of a. It's a way for me to sort of like cultivate a relationship, and I feel like if I go with a nickname, it makes us at least appear closer than maybe we are. So and my wife's always like, you can't do that. You don't know if they like that.
I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm saying maybe AB isn't the first one we try to.
So the weirder one is the first ever time I was on like a weekday show here.
Yeah.
I filled in on Zolak and Bertrand, and somebody I went to high school with called in.
Yep.
And so they take the call, Matt in Canton, I think, or wherever he was, and he answers. He goes, Barthy. Okay. And the drop's in there somewhere. And so it came off funny, and they were like, so is that what like people called you? And not only did nobody call me Barthy in high school, the guy who called in had never called me that. Nobody had ever called me that. And I asked him later, I'm like, why'd you do that? And he was like, I don't know. I felt like doing it. So that's how Barthy.
I got nervous.
Okay. That's how Barthy became a thing of the sports, which again, like, I don't mind. I just always think that one's funny because now a lot of people have come to know me as like Barthy.
Yeah.
Whereas for 20-something years, nobody ever called me that.
So what was your nickname in high school? Did you have one?
Barth.
So not really a nickname.
Very few people call me Alex.
I
get a little weirded out sometimes when like, especially people I've known for a long time. Like one of my friends called me Alex recently, kind of like by accident, and we all sort of had to stop and be like, that was...
It's like, hey, man, are you okay? What's wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Are we having a serious moment right now?
Do you have news? Yeah.
It's always been Barth.
It's always been Barth.
Okay.
But except that one summer I worked for the Spinners, it was AB.
Okay. Who started that? Somebody there? A Spinners guy?
Yeah, I think it was like the GM.
Okay.
I mean, you let the boss say whatever he wants to say.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, have you ever been like Marky or?
So no, but
you're not a Marky.
No, never
Dondy.
been Marky.
Did
Don't
you get
want
the
Marky.
hockey name? Dondy.
Yeah. So Don D. When I was a kid, it was D. You know what's funny? My Twitter trolls, because they're out there.
Sure.
They'll refer to me as Dondy. I don't know where they got that because it's not something that's ever been.
I've never heard that.
But when they'll post to me on Twitter giving me crap, I'll like a lot of times it's Dondy, which is fine. I just think it's funny. Most people here call me by my last name, which whatever. So I've never really been a last name guy. I just don't call people by their last name. Barth, what's up, Zolak, Felger.
I mean, these are now we're into like brands now. It's like Zolak. I mean, that's his name, but that's how you identify him. Felger. That's how you identify.
Right, most people here, I think, at least on air, most people are last name Fred. I guess isn't. Nobody really calls him Touch. I know it's in the show name, but Fred goes by Fred.
Hardy's more of a stage
Hardy's
name. Performance
stage
name, stage name.
Okay.
I mean, McCone. Beetle, I guess, is a nickname that
Beetle's a nickname.
See, like, there's another one.
McTakey. I hear McTakey all the time when Matt McCarthy is in. McTakey is a nickname.
But also, I feel like more people call him McCarthy than call him Matt.
More people call him McCarthy, for sure.
But you wouldn't be like, hey, what's up, Double M or
what do people call Kendra? She have a last name?
Kendra, I think, goes by Kendra's first
nobody
name.
Calls her by Middleton.
First name first person.
Yeah. And
hey there, Midzy.
Middy.
Just do hockey nicknames across the station.
I do admit I'm bad with like I'll meet some guy named Tom. He's my wife if she's playing tennis and that's her tennis friend, like her husband, the husband of the person she. But whatever. I met him once. He'll show up at our holiday party and I'll be like, "What's up, T?" And I met him once. And so he probably doesn't understand why I called him that. But in my mind,
I'm trying to be friendly.
Exactly. That's in my mind. That's how I view it. Like it's me trying to be friendly, extend an olive branch and bring you into a circle that doesn't really exist, but I'm trying to be friendly, even though they might think it's weird and unattractive. I don't know. And I always get spoken to about it. I
have a friend who just calls everybody by like a single letter of their first or last name.
What are we doing? Bank robberies? We can't use our full names?
Well, but then we're hanging out with people where it's like multiple people have a B name. So it'd be like, hey, B. And like 5 people look at him and we don't know what to do.
Like, just use names.
See, I'm also a one-syllable guy. So if I can go one syllable, so I should adopt Barth.
Barth is one syllable.
I know, I should do it.
See, so I think some of it's the name too. Like, it's a very easy name to do it with.
Yeah. Easy to say, kind of just rolls
off the tongue.
But a name, for example, Kendra Middleton would be hard for me.
There's a lot.
How do you put that in what? Draw?
Kenny, I think she.
That's 2 syllables.
Isn't that her, like, Twitter? I think it's Kenny
but I
Middleton,
want
right?
1 syllable. Mid? Then
No,
you're
you
really
can't call
reaching.
it mid.
That's an insult.
You're really reaching.
K.
K?
KM?
Yeah, you go K? Okay. I don't know. It's something, and people, I've been told it's, you know what else I thought of? Another time I really celebrated, I shot 75 once in golf. Just a personal achievement. And I had some drinks that night. That was a big moment for me. But just as a golf enthusiast, somebody that plays a lot, doesn't always often shoot in the 70s.
With other people?
I was with, a guy.
Do they get, like, excited for you, or they're just like, oh, God, we're never going to hear the end of this?
No, I mean, this person in particular has admitted that when he plays golf, subconsciously roots for you to suck because he's not that good and it makes him feel better.
I think that's what it, like, I don't golf, but I know, like, if you're having a bad day on the golf course and other people around you are playing really well, like, that's got to put a damper on the outing.
It has to.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It depends on who you're with, to me. Because it can also be like you don't want to be the one holding the group up.
Yeah.
If you're not playing well. But it's also like I'll root for my friends because it's more fun when people are playing well, even if I'm not, unless they get way too like hardo about it.
They're like doing the Shooter McGavin fingers every time they sing.
Well, what constitutes they've gotten too hardo about it?
So I have a couple of friends that are they're really good players.
Okay.
For, just people that go out and play on the weekends and they'll hit a shot that is objectively a good shot. I hit maybe once or twice a summer, and they kind of regularly be like, I wanted that to be like 6 inches in that direction. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
That's a great shot. Like, relax.
Okay.
You can't get pissed about that.
Gotcha.
Why can't you be happy for me?
And I get it. I mean, you're right. I generally root for the people I'm playing with to play well. But every now and then it could get a little competitive. And if you are really lost out there and everybody else is just ripping up the course, it does not make you feel great. So I will admit every now and then if there is a bad shot or a shank, it does help you get, it brings you up a little bit. So I didn't blame the guy if he was, but in that moment, I think he was genuinely happy because I was hitting my 5-iron that day like it was a pitching wedge. I mean, it was just, yeah. Remember, that was at Stowe Acres. I don't think that course was at the North Course at Stowe Acres, which I don't know if it's still there.
Yeah, they had to close it down after I got out of there.
Yeah, I think they put some apartments on there. But Maz says they built a driving range facility or something. So I got to go. I haven't been up there. I got to check that out. We need a headlines here, Rye?
Yeah, let's hit a break here.
Let's hit a break. We're going to get a headlines when we get back. Mike Reiss is looming. We'll talk more Patriots, more NFL, other things to get to around the league. We're going to do all that. And stick around. The contest is coming up. Chance to win Patriots tickets when they host the Miami Dolphins this Sunday. Let's get a headlines. This is Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, Toucher and Hardy.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub.
How about the December version of Steph Diggs we've gotten these last 2 weeks?
I heard so much from the people in Buffalo about December Diggs, and the wheels were going to fall off and just wait. He had a couple of rough games there. He did. Not necessarily even rough. He just wasn't super involved.
Yeah.
I don't think he's playing poorly. I think they dipped his snap count. Mike Vrabel has talked a lot about wanting to make sure that the veterans stay rested late in the year, and then teams were doubling him and things like that. But the fact that he's bouncing back here, getting hot as they get into the playoffs, back-to-back 100-yard games is such a great sign. Since 2010, only 3 players have had 5 or more 100-yard receiving games in a season for the Patriots. It's him, Gronk, and Wes Welker. That's it. Edelman's most in a year was 4.
So I feel like this is a different thing. If Stephon Diggs is going to be that guy heading into the playoffs, the Patriots have a number 1 receiver. And that's not something that they necessarily had all year. He's been very good all year, but bona fide number 1 material, not really what I viewed him as all season long. But this is bona fide number 1 production. And if he has another big game against Miami and they go into the playoffs with him on this trajectory, I wonder if it changes how teams are going to look at the Patriots and try to defend the Patriots.
So we saw teams the last couple of weeks starting to double him and starting to give him more attention. Now the Jets just don't have the personnel. So there's that. But I think what you're going to see is if he's not going off, it's going to be because he's getting the extra attention. And that's going to open opportunities for guys like Kayshon Boutte when he comes back, and Pop Douglas and Kyle Williams and maybe even the tight ends. Obviously, no Mac Hollins. That's a big blow. But he is the term number 1 wide receiver, I feel like I don't love it.
Okay.
Because it carries a connotation that doesn't always reflect what that player does. I use the term coverage dictating wide receiver or Tuesday morning player. So Tuesday morning player is a guy that during the week in the NFL season, Monday you go in, you usually kind of break down the game from Sunday, go over what needs to be fixed. You really start on the opponent on Tuesday. So a Tuesday morning player to me is the guy that when you get in that big general meeting on Tuesday, that first meeting, right? Who's the guy that the opponent is going to have to start the meeting with by saying, we got to have a plan for him. We can't just do what we normally do. We got to come up with something new. We got to come up with something different. We got to have a plan for him. The Patriots have not had a Tuesday morning player on offense in quite a while. Drake May's obviously a Tuesday morning player, but your quarterback kind of needs to be. Mm-hmm. Stephon Diggs is starting to play like a Tuesday morning player again. So when teams are game planning for him and game planning around him, it's not just him winning, it's the opportunities he's going to open up for everybody else where you're really going to see that value.
He has, I wrote it down. Where is it? I don't have the note in front of me. But the last 2 games, he's got, 239 yards?
He had what do you have against
touchdown?
Baltimore, 130.
Yeah, maybe most importantly, I'll have to just verify this. I think out of all he's been targeted 16 times, he has 15 receptions. When they throw the ball to him, he's catching it. So that's a thing.
He's made 2 unbelievable contested catches the last 2 weeks. He had the first catch last week where it looked like he snapped his leg.
Yes.
And then he obviously mossed the guy. That was his first catch, right? And this one, he's been targeted, 16 times, 15 catches over the last 2 games. You got the last time he had more than 1 target go his way that was incomplete, you have to go back to the last Jets game, and May was still 9 for 11 targeting him in that one.
Yeah. So, that's a force. When you play like that way, that's a force. So that will be something that the Patriots are going to need. Hunter Henry, I know they had a lot of success with the 12 personnel. I love the 12 personnel. I love when they get the tight ends going, especially if you have Kayshon Boutte available. The 2 tight ends, a running back, either running back, honestly. And then you have Boutte and Diggs. I like Diggs out of the slot, though. I like Pop Douglas. I wish Mac Hollins was be available for the playoff game. That's going to hurt, but I do think this could be the deepest wide receiving group in the league. Could be. Not the best, but the deepest.
By the way, I just looked it up. Stephon Diggs is second among NFL wide receivers in catch percentage. 82.8% of his catches, or of his targets, have turned into catches. Only Greg Dortch has a higher percentage.
Dorchy. Yeah, I mean, I just, based on what they're trying to do, I just don't. The timing is perfect, and what he's doing right now has been perfect for what the Patriots need going into the playoffs, especially with some of these lingering questions about the schedule and who's available to be a real playmaker. Because you need playmakers, and I still question whether the defense has enough playmakers. The one area where I do have concern, are they at risk from a running game perspective and a defensive perspective? Because if they have a bad day on both fronts, a playoff game might be hard to win. That's what I'm worried about.
The run game's looked a lot better the last couple games. Ramondre Stevenson, to me, looks as healthy, as explosive as he's looked, really going back to the start of the 2024 season. I don't know if he's looked this good at all this year, going back like 3 or 4 weeks. He's fully healthy. That's huge. And obviously, Travion Henderson has now gotten his feet under him, and he's running the ball better. The run defense, Mark, that's a bigger question. That's my big question. I think that, look, at this point, you look at what they did last week, and Derrick Henry's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Obviously, credit to him, but they were putting 6 guys on the line of scrimmage, 8, 9 players in the box, and still getting moved, and still not even getting a hand on Derrick Henry. There's not much more you can do schematically on top of that. It's just personnel. So we think, right, they'll get Milton Williams back, they'll get Robert Spillane back, they'll get Kyrus Tonga back. Maybe not this week against Miami, but for the playoffs. That should help. The question is, how are those guys coming back? Are you getting those guys at 100%? Where's Spillane at? Where's Milton Williams at? Because those are 3 very key run defenders, and it's just the logo on the side of the helmet ain't going to stop the run. And they were great at it early in the year, and then they've fallen off since those guys went out.
They were great at it. What happened?
They lost those players.
So it's as simple as that.
I think I know people don't want to hear that. I think it is simply like 95% a personnel thing. Maybe there's a couple schematic tweaks here and there, but I do think it's a personnel thing. Those guys will be back, but the question is, are they coming back? How close to 100% are they coming back?
So Greg Bedard would not agree with you. He did not think, we asked him on the postgame show, not this one, the one after the Baltimore game, if Milton Williams returning, I don't know if I included Robert Spillane into the question, but Milton Williams, could that be a game changer, a total game-changing moment? He did not think so. I like to think he will be a significant add, and that we will see it in front of our face where it's, wow, that run defense is a lot better because he's back. You'd have to think, I mean, he was so good. He is so good.
The question is, like, how healthy is he?
How healthy is he?
And it's not to say that he's going to come back and they're going to be the team they were the first 8 weeks, the best run defense in football. But I do think they'll be significantly better, with all 3 of those guys, than what they've been.
And in the red zone. The red zone defense. I still need
those two things are tied together.
Sure. Okay, so that's going to be a big deal. How would you, real quick, we'll talk about this later. We're going to bring in Mike Reiss. We got the contest to get to, and we're going to do that on the other side of this break. Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, Mike Reiss of ESPN coming up. This is Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Celebrate New Year's with Whole Foods Market. Prime members get 20% off all caviar,
But when they put us on the road, we started in Miami, we finished in New York. Okay, and it was a great team win and a lot of great efforts, and everybody helped us. Okay, but I'm glad we got number 10 pulling the trigger. So again, take care of our bodies. It's late in the season, fellas. The workouts, the conditioning, we have to have a mindset that there's a lot of work left. Okay, and what we've done, okay, is pretty special. But we got to keep thinking ahead. Okay, but I appreciate everything that you guys have done. Drake, break them down. Hey,
love you guys, man. Let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. Hey, pass on me. Pass on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, back here on Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Alex Barth. That was Mike Vrabel in the AFC East Championship locker room, giving a shout out, if I wasn't mistaken, to a highway, some signage on the highway. He said the road work continued. He liked the road work sign. We want to give a shout out, we want to shout out the fact that we are giving away 2 tickets to the Dolphins and Patriots that you can win right now. Caller number 10 to the contest line, 617-931-0985. Again, 617-931-0985 will score a pair of tickets to see the Patriots take on the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, 4:25 at Gillette Stadium. Phone lines are open. And with that, we welcome in Mike Reiss of ESPN. Mike, good morning. How are you? It's Mark and Alex.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Alex. I'm doing great. Left MetLife Stadium last night around 7:45. I had to wait in the press box because I had to see what happened in that Eagles-Bills game to sort of finalize my story, and drove back, had a lot of time to think about what has been an amazing run for the Patriots, and excited to be with you guys this morning.
Well, thanks for joining us, and I'm glad you had time to think because we're going to get into all that. But first, I was just wondering, Mike, when was the last time as a fan you purchased some hats or T-shirts to commemorate a championship or some type of win?
So it's a little different now. For me, I don't usually do that, Mark,
course,
but
yeah.
I would say for the now that I'm like, I have kids 16 and 13, and so we have those discussions, which jersey are we getting, and which hat, which T-shirt, is it going to be the new nor'easter uniform, stuff like that. So that's sort of an every year thing now.
I didn't know if you grabbed one of those refuse to lose shirts back in the day.
That's a good one.
So
yeah, definitely. That might be the last one, Mark.
Noted. I'm going to ask Mike just kind of what you alluded to. How would you categorize this turnaround and what the Patriots have accomplished? Because to go from 4 wins, I mean, I thought a lot of people thought they'd be better, but we're talking about a potential number 1 seed and, a guy playing quarterback who's been in the conversation for MVP all year. How do you categorize this total turnaround here by the team?
Shocking. Just one word. Shocking, Mark. And I was thinking about it on the ride that I was alluding to there. Where were we at this time last year? And I'll just remind everyone, they were coming off week 17 nationally televised home loss to the Chargers, where fans were wearing paper bags on their heads, if I remember, and it was really embarrassing. And it seemed like the nation was embracing this. Hey, the Patriots are finally getting theirs after all those years of excellence. And Mark, I remember thinking after that game, like, where's this thing going to go? Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking it requires like some bold leadership from really the top of the top, right? Like ownership. Like, what is Robert Kraft going to do? Like, is he going to bring back this coaching regime, which he's invested a lot in and he cares a lot about, or is he going to rip the Band-Aid off and absorb a lot of money in doing so and go make a change? And I think, to me, what has happened from that moment to now, like, it starts there with ownership and then it just trickles all the way down. I can't believe a year removed from that we are sitting and talking about what we're talking about right now.
fans flooding for the exits early in the third quarter, if I remember right in that game. It was ugly.
Yeah, that building was. There weren't that many there to begin with. That building was empty at the end. But Mike, just you talk about going back a year ago. Let's go back about 11 months. Mike Vrabel's introductory press conference gets up there and talks about the pillars of his program and says the goal is to win the division, to host playoff games. They've done that. They are going to do that. In that moment, what was your reaction when he said that in that moment and seeing it come from then to now? What do you think the biggest thing is he's done that's allowed them to check that box in 1 year?
So I remember being in that room, Alex, where he was introduced because it was the same place he was inducted in the Patriots Hall of Fame. And honestly, I remember thinking to myself, like, they got a guy that's got a plan and it's a new direction, but we had almost already, experienced that 11 months or 12 months prior in the transition from Bill to Gerard. So I remember feeling just a little bit of, we sort of just went through this, and it didn't feel like it had the same, for lack of better words, pomp and circumstance. At the time, it was more like, let's just try to move this forward. And I think the one word I would highlight on the question is culture. The culture that Mike Vrabel has brought in, again, from the top down, has just, to me, set the tone for what we've seen happen.
We've talked a lot over the years about, Brady, Belichick, who's more responsible for the dynasty. And I'm just curious based on what we were seeing and witnessing last year. Gerard Mayo was here. Obviously, they moved on after 1 year. Mike Vrabel comes in. Josh McDaniels comes in. Drake May was here last year. But obviously, in his first year, you can grow into a better player in your second year. Who, Mike, from what you've witnessed, can you categorize who's most responsible for this turnaround? Is there one person that's most responsible?
Yeah. So, Mark, if we were going to start the thing going, start with honestly what we were talking about, where we were at this point last year. It doesn't happen if Robert Kraft doesn't start by making the decision. And then I think it's who he picked. That's where I go, to Mike Vrabel. And I've just been so impressed with what he's done. And I'm going to give you an example, Mark, from yesterday of the culture piece that I think Vrabel has brought. So we're standing there on the sideline before the game, and I look over to my right, and it's all the coaches' wives at the game. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I've ever seen this happen before. And I think Mike Vrabel was the person that the Patriots organization needed to just hit the reset button and show a different way of doing things. So you have this trip after Christmas with all the coaches' wives. You have assistant coaches coming over before the game to check in with their wives. And I'm thinking to myself, he's made this, he's opened this up to families and to make everyone feel a part of it. And I know that's a small thing, but I'm just using it as an example of that. He learned this when he went out and coached in, Houston, Ohio State, Tennessee, and he brought it to New England. And it's a mix of the old way and with his own twist of a new way of doing it. And it's just been very impressive to watch.
Mike, looking ahead now, obviously 1 week to go. Things aren't settled yet in the AFC. A lot to be determined. The 1 seed still on the line, that wild card seeding to determine who will play in the first round. How do you look at this playoff picture for the Patriots? As of today, they play the Bills, but the Chargers still very much in play right now. What is the biggest thing you're looking for the Patriots next week outside of getting out healthy?
Yeah, Alex, I think just keep focusing on themselves, right? And don't worry about all the permutations and who it might be, because that what served them well this year is just focusing on themselves. And I think this is sort of a fascinating one, right? Like we say, definitely play for the number 1 seed, play to win. I heard Mike Vrabel mention this morning in his radio interview that if players are healthy, he expects them to play this week. So I don't think they're going to shut guys down. So they're going to go for it. But there's a part of me, Alex, I'm curious what you guys think, whether they're at home with the bye, on the road where they're 8-0 this season with that road warrior mentality. I'm not sure it really matters to them. Just just prepare yourself to be at as full strength as possible and play your best game when it counts, and they're trending in the right direction in that regard.
Certainly are. I had one of the priorities I had, just because you mentioned it, coming into the year, was sort of reestablishing some type of dominance or at least a presence at home. They have played poorly at home for a long time, dating back before this year, and I was feeling good until that Buffalo game, obviously, where they sputtered a little bit. Been great on the road. So it will be interesting to see how they handle a playoff situation, obviously. So in terms of that, Mike, so you would agree with that? You would play the guys next week, and if Milton Williams can go, you'd get him a little run ahead of a playoff situation.
Absolutely. I would add Will Campbell in that. He's eligible to come off IR this week. If medically they look at his knee and say it's ready to go, I would get him. Only for this, Mark, like I wouldn't want to, if I'm a team and I'm playing a, win or go home game, I'm not sure I want to be breaking in two of my best players in those situations if I don't have to, right? And so I would start moving in that direction. And I've been influenced just based on the past from the 2007 example with the Giants. And I think this is actually interesting. I'm curious how the Chargers going to approach this in Denver for their finale, because we could make an argument what Tom Coughlin did with the Giants in 2007 had nothing to play for. In that final game against the Patriots, their seed was locked in, and yet he played everyone because it was important to him, respect the game, get his team ready, and they go win the Super Bowl, right? And that game was a catalyst. So I'm curious to see what Jim Harbaugh does with the Chargers, and maybe just my personal opinion, having lived that, seen that, the benefits of that, that's, if you're asking me, that's how I would sort of approach the end game. But I also understand there's more ways to do it than just that.
It will be interesting because if I remember right, didn't the Rams last year in Week 18 sort of try to shut everyone down, or Puka Nacua had some incentive and they were getting him out as soon as he made the catch that got him over the hump, and that actually worked out for them where they had some rest in it. So there certainly are multiple ways you can approach it. Do you have another one for Mike, Alex?
Sorry, I thought you were going to go.
Well, I was just going to ask Mike about Drake May and the MVP, because I'm just, it appeared to me that Matt Stafford had it wrapped up, and then all of a sudden Drake May leads a comeback over the Baltimore Ravens. He throws for 380 yards in the process. Yesterday, 5 touchdowns basically in the first half. Is it over for the MVP, or could May still sneak in there and maybe surprise a few people and win the award?
I don't think it's over, Mark. I don't personally have a vote. I have it on my list of things to do. One of my favorite NFL reporters, Mike Sando of The Athletic, I think had a great breakdown today in his Pick Six column. And if you look at some of the numbers that he presented, they tilt toward May. And so I think that this thing is still coming down the home stretch. May is second in the latest odds that they posted in our DraftKings Sportsbook, ESPN's little teams chat that I was looking at after the game. But let's see what happens tonight. Like, it's actually one, we don't need necessarily that to want to tune in, but I want to see how Stafford plays tonight. If Stafford doesn't play well against the Falcons, I think it's like a ping pong match here, and it goes back toward May. So, in terms of the favorite.
Okay. They don't always, the stats, I think last year, I'd have to go back and look. I think you could have argued Lamar Jackson had better statistics than Josh Allen.
He did. Last year was a weird one because Lamar won first team All-Pro, but Allen got the MVP from the same voters, and it was the first time those had been split since I think like the 80s.
Yes. And I think here's my read on it. I'll be curious your guys' opinion. I think Stafford will have the sentimental vote, if I put that in quotes, older, has never won it, and has had a great season. And then I think what might hurt Drake in the voters' eyes is, who did they play compared to the Rams? Fair or not? Was it an easier schedule? So those are sort of what I think the voters might be thinking. But I feel like with 2 games to go, and let's see what Stafford does tonight, because this is like coming down, like a horse race coming down the home stretch, and here's Drake on the outside, and that was a pretty decisive home stretch that he was running yesterday against the Jets.
I'm just curious. You mentioned, first of all, the lifetime achievement thing with the award. I think we've seen that come into play, but you mentioned maybe the voters holding the schedule against May. Just in your personal opinion, I know you said you don't have a vote, but to me, it's the schedule Drake May has versus, well, Stafford's throwing to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Not that the Patriots receivers are bad, but those are, a future Hall of Famer and maybe the best in the league right now. What do you think holds more weight, the weak schedule or the talent that Stafford has around him?
That's a good question, Alex. I think it probably depends on who you ask. I don't think either. If I was voting, I guess I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
If I was voting, I don't know if I would. I'd try not to factor in either of those things, and I would try to dig deeper and be like, okay, MVP. What is this award? It's, I guess, and I would say if you take that player away from the team, what does that team look like? And I think it's very close. That's sort of my thought, because I think in both cases, both those teams are probably nowhere close to where they would be right now.
See, Mike should get a vote because that's how it should be approached.
Yeah.
Is it, Alex? I honestly don't know. Is that really? Do you really believe that?
It's most valuable player, right? I've always said that. And I think there is an element of best that you put into it. I think that's definitely a part of it. Some other leagues call it like most outstanding player, but I do think there's something for replaceability. What would this guy's team have looked like if he wasn't there? I think that's because we see it all the time. Teams have players get hurt, and you look at a team that you project as a double-digit win team, a playoff team, they lose one player, and suddenly they win 5 games. And I think that those are truly the greats in the league, the ones that put those teams on the apex.
I think the sentimental thing is going to be the deciding factor.
I think so.
Honestly, I think
it's
Drake
the
May
Lifetime Achievement Award.
He should be the MVP in my opinion, but I think that Lifetime Achievement is going to trump everything when it comes down to actually winning the award. We'll get you out of here on this one, Mike, and I just need to ask, just because the Patriots played this team yesterday, but the New York Jets. I mean, I don't even know what I'm asking here, honestly. I mean, they've had 3 guys, I think, this year who are going to the Pro Bowl: Leonard Williams, Sam Darnold, and Quinnen Williams. Unfortunately, none of them play for the Jets anymore. Poor Rich Cimini. What do you say about the Jets? How do you turn it around? It feels hopeless because no matter where they draft, no matter who they bring in, coach, quarterback, players, studs, stars, they can't turn it around. Where do you start if you're the New York Jets?
So, Mark, I absolutely love that you just said poor Rich Cimini.
I know,
Rich is the ESPN Jets reporter, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And I call him my cousin because it's been like 3 decades that we've been sharing press box, for Patriots Jets games twice a year. And I actually said to him, because this is a personal business, I checked in on him. I said, "Are you doing okay?" Because we've been so lucky here in New England that we've only had a couple down seasons over the last 3 decades. And those seasons are tough. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like last year, when you're coming out of the bye and you're already eliminated from the playoffs, you're already talking about draft position, and I hope they lose the last game so they get the number 1 overall pick. It's those aren't fun to report on. It's not fun to go to the games, which, as we saw from fans, they agree. They didn't show up really for those games. So about the Jets, Mark, I think I would come full circle to the original point that I made. It really comes back. It starts at ownership, right? Yeah. And I think, Woody Johnson, like what is the strength of the ownership? What's the vision? What are you selling there? And I think there's a lot of infrastructure questions that I would have. Is Aaron Glenn set up to succeed? Is Aaron Glenn the right head coach? I'm not close enough to know the answers to those questions, but after 20 plus years of watching that ownership operate, those are the questions that I would be asking if I was in that position, and I would spin it back to the Patriots and say how fortunate I think those who follow this team, who invest their time, their passion, their money on the team should feel with their ownership based on everything that's unfolded.
All right, Mike Reiss of ESPN covering the AFC East champion New England Patriots once again, and joining us here on Toucher and Hardy. Mike, thanks so much. Great talking to you as always, and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Alex. Great being with you guys. Have a great rest of the show.
All right, thanks a lot. And when we get back, we will react to Mike and get more into some of the things going on around the NFL and the Patriots and everything else. Are we getting the headlines right now, Rye, or would that be after the break?
Yeah, we're getting headlines.
All right, let's do headlines with Alex. Mark Dundero, Alex Barth, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
For the first time since 2019, the New England Patriots are AFC East champions. The Patriots clinched the division yesterday, starting with a 14-2 win over the Jets. Drake May threw for 5 touchdowns in that one. And then the Patriots got some help. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Buffalo Bills 13-12, stopping a 2-point conversion in the final seconds, and that officially clinched the division. Other notable scores from yesterday: the Browns upset the Steelers 13-6 to keep the AFC North race open. The Raiders lost 34-10 to the Giants to gain the inside track on the first overall pick. And the 49ers beat the Bears 42-38 in a shootout to keep their hopes for the NFC's number 1 seed alive. Now attention turns to Week 18. The NFL announcing the schedule last night. The Patriots will play the Dolphins at 4:25 on Sunday. That's the same time the Broncos play the Chargers. The Patriots would need a Broncos loss and their own win to get the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. The Celtics suffered a 114-108 loss to the Trailblazers on the road last night. C's turned the ball over 20 times, including 6 in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, the Bruins, they are back in action tonight, visiting the Calgary Flames. Coverage starts at 8:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Boston Prolotherapy. Don't let joint pain keep you off the court, course, or trail. Eliminate that pain with Dr. Franke of Boston Prolotherapy. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8 o'clock.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
I'm telling them now.
of ESPN, and Mike, different Mike, in Nashua is on the line. Hey, Mike. Good morning.
Hey, boys. How you doing?
How you doing? Hey.
Good. So I just wanted to say, when it comes down to Drake May and Matt Stafford, who would win the MVP? If you were to take a 1-for-1 swap, put Drake May on the Rams, put Stafford on the Patriots, I don't think it would be even close. I don't think Stafford would be able to do what Drake May is doing with the Patriots, the same way how Drake May would go to the Rams and probably dominate. I'll hang up and listen to what you think.
So thanks for the call. It's a good point. It's a good angle to look at it, lens to look at it through.
Yeah.
And I agree with Mike. But I just don't think that's going to be the way they look at it in terms of voting for the award. And I do agree. I think if Matt Stafford was on the Patriots, they're still good. They win games, but not 13, not 13-3 or whatever. Is that 13-3, right?
13-3. Yeah,
they're not winning 13 games with Matt Stafford, not with this group.
We know the Patriots' offensive line has been a work in progress. We know that, and the way Drake May has mitigated that at times and what he's done with that pocket movement that Stafford certainly at the peak of his career could do, but he's not quite as mobile now as he was.
No, he has no rush yards.
No, and you look at what Drake May would do in that offense and when McVay and similar systems have had mobile quarterbacks and the success they've had, I think it would make a big difference. Now, if you're going to do that, you just have to do it based on this year. Obviously, you take Drake May over Matthew Stafford long term because he's much younger. I think the question of should he win it and will he win it are two different answers at this point.
Yeah.
I do think he should win it. I just don't think that's what's going to happen.
How much weight do you put in Drake May's rushing yards? He rushed for 409 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think off the top of my head, Matt Stafford rushed for like -2 yards.
Yeah. No, I have weight. There's weight to that. For me, he's still producing. You don't think so, Alex?
I'm just trying to pull up the numbers here.
I mean,
I do think
rushing touchdowns, like you said, manipulating the pocket, especially the Patriots' running game really hasn't been there all year. Drake May, and by the way, I think that is something that they're going to. We didn't ask Mike this, and that's okay. I think that is something if they're wise, they account for, they plan for. Alex, I would like to see Drake May run the ball and have some more designed runs for Drake May at the ready for the playoffs. I think they're going to need that element in a playoff situation, or at least be prepared to use that in a playoff situation.
I think they'll have a couple. I think the big thing with Drake May and the designed runs is just that they've shown them, and it keeps the defense honest, and that's what's most important. I don't want them to overdo that, because I don't want them getting hurt. To go back to your last question, how much should the rushing stats factor into the MVP? Well, last year, when Josh Allen won it, and again, I said that I think the voters knew they were wrong. I think there was voter fatigue for Lamar Jackson. I think that there was an element of Lifetime Achievement Award. We got to get Josh Allen one. Very similar Joel Embiid a couple years ago in the NBA, winning it over Nikola Jokic. But the thing, and again, they split the vote for the first time since the 80s between first-team All-Pro and MVP. It's the same people voting. So they acknowledged Lamar was the better player, but gave it to Josh Allen. And whether people were honest or they were lying to cover their tracks, what a lot of people cited was the total rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen ran for 12 touchdowns. Lamar ran for 4. It's basically, I'll show you the breakdown here, Dendero. It's basically the only area
I have it right here
where Allen had an advantage. So if that's enough to get Allen over the top last year, sure as hell should be enough to get Drake May over the top this year. We'll see if they're consistent or
not. And I like that. So to me, what they're saying is you can talk about lifetime achievement or whatever. To me, I would read that as Jackson had the better year statistically, but the most valuable player was Josh Allen. And you could argue, based on the rosters, coaching, all of the above, they were correct. Allen is that team.
I would agree with that.
Jackson, Flowers, Henry, Harbaugh, likely had a better year probably last year than he had this year. Mark Andrews, a good tight end. They have, guys at the defensive line. They have protection. They have offensive line. It feels like Allen has to be Superman. And I think that's what they tapped into. That's what I would read that as.
So I'm the same way, but last year felt like the first time the voters ever put weight on the valuable part of it. It was always just who was the best player.
Right.
And really who was the best quarterback, right? When's the last time a non-quarterback won it?
I think it was Sean Alexander?
No, Peterson.
Peterson.
Does anybody want? I don't think anybody since Peterson. But the point being,
Alexander.
last year was the first time that it felt like they actually considered the value part of it. If they do, again, if they're going to be consistent, Drake May should win it. If they just wanted to get Josh Allen one because he's the golden boy, then it's going to be Matthew Stafford.
Those are all better arguments to make than sentimentality. Like, oh, we got to get one for Matt Stafford because he's old and might retire soon.
I think
his statistics. I don't mean to cut you off, but statistically, Matt Stafford might have a better argument statistically than Drake May does. Instead of going, oh well, he's going to hang him up soon. We got to get one for old Matty Stafford before he goes away. That's a tired point to make.
It was Peterson in 2012. One more running back won it. Since Alexander too, LaDainian Tomlinson the next year after Alexander.
Right,
but
I don't know why I said it.
No, I mean I remember he had one. What was I going to say? The value part is what's there for May. If that's how they're going to vote for it going forward, great. But it's generally been who's been the best player, who's put up the numbers, who's been the most impressive. I know Drake May has some numbers on Matthew Stafford. That touchdown number is what's going to loom large. Mm-hmm. And Stafford, I think even after yesterday, still has a 5 touchdown advantage, right, with 2 games to go. May only has 1 to go.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We'll see what happens tonight, Monday Night Football. Yeah. If the Rams lose either of their next 2 games.
So the record could be a part of it, too.
Yeah, that's a big deal for me because you're not going to be the 1 seed. And if you lose one of the next 2, you're talking about, what, a 5 seed? That's not good enough. And they've lost their last 2 games, by the way, to playoff teams. They lost. And we'll see if Carolina makes the playoffs. Yeah. They lost to Carolina. They lost to Seattle. Now, it was a 38-37 overtime loss. I get that. But you need to be, May wins the games. They haven't had a bad game all year. I get the schedule's not what it was, not what some other team schedules are.
Well, again, Stafford's working with more around him.
Right.
Than May is.
And that was a good question you asked Mike about, the difference between the schedule versus
I think those cancel out. Yeah. Would have been my answer to my own question. But to get back to what we were saying before, the lifetime achievement thing, I think in the era of social media where so much of a player's reputation is banked on just how can you check the boxes of individual achievements, there is some pressure on the voters, right or wrong, to do that sort of thing. Where it's not just the NFL. We're seeing it happen in every league that, well, this guy's got to get an MVP eventually. This feels like an MVP season for him. Let's get it for him. And look, maybe this comes back around and May doesn't win it this year. And there's another season down the road where he's deserving, but maybe not the most deserving, but he gets it anyway because the other guy's 22. Like maybe it comes around the other side. But I do worry that that's just going to catch up to him and get him.
If they end up with 5 losses and the Patriots end up with 3 losses and the stats are comparable, especially if you factor in some of the rushing numbers, the rushing touchdowns, this shouldn't be a discussion. 11-5, or whatever it would be, 12-5 versus 14-3. Not enough. They need to give that to May, especially when you factor in the turnaround, the lack of a true number 1 for most of the season, the lack of a running game for most of the season. You need to give that to Drake May. That's what they should do.
Well,
I don't think they're going to.
Well, we're on awards. Do you think Mike Vrabel's locked up Coach of the Year?
No.
He's currently the favorite. He's minus 130. Kyle Shanahan's plus 200. Mike McDonald's plus 700. Liam Cohen's plus 1,200. Those 2 guys should have
Ben
better
Johnson
odds.
Not up there?
Ben Johnson's plus 6,000.
Huh. I could make an argument for Mike Vrabel. I could certainly make an argument for Liam Cohen. I'd probably make an argument more for Liam Cohen just because I don't think that highly of Trevor Lawrence, and he has really figured it out for Trevor Lawrence, and they've really got it going in the right direction. That's the only reason I'd probably lean Liam Cohen.
So the odds say that Stafford is more of a lock for MVP than Vrabel is for Coach of the Year right now.
Okay.
I just think that's it. I don't think that. I think it should be about equal. I think Vrabel's closer.
The problem I think for Vrabel, honestly, and I would look at it this way if I was voting too.
Yeah.
How big of an impact has Josh McDaniels made? And Drake May's development. I feel like that would be a factor in my vote.
Assistant Coach of the Year. I don't know if AP does Assistant Coach of the Year. I know that the PFWA does. Like Josh McDaniels, Assistant Coach of the Year to me is a slam dunk. That's the clear and obvious one.
Sure. If they do that award.
The PFWA does.
Okay. I just feel like I don't know anybody, obviously.
No, the AP
Bears,
does it. They've done it since 2014.
I don't know anybody that's the assistant coach to Liam Cohen. I feel like the turnaround and what we've seen out of Trevor Lawrence is because of Liam Cohen. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. We just talked about it earlier in the show. If Gerard Mayo was here and you bring in McDaniels and May has this ascent, are they a different team? Are they close to what they are now with Gerard Mayo? Or is it what Mike said, Mike Reiss, where it's Mike Vrabel first and foremost, and he's the one that is at the foundation of the change of the culture and all that? I don't know the answer.
So I'll just say to the assistant coach thing, you said you don't know like who it is for Liam Cohen. The three guys, it's McDaniels, it's Clint Kubiak, the OC in Seattle, and it's Vance Joseph, the DC in Denver, because those guys are coordinating the opposite side of the ball from what their head coach's background is, and those three units are excellent.
Okay.
The Seahawks offense, the Patriots offense, and the Broncos defense. But I think that one should be McDaniels because you look at the jump Drake May has made, and it's tremendous.
All right. So there's that on the table. 617-779-0985. We're going to go around the NFL when we get back. Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sport.
Browns, their own win, 42-10 over the Jets, and then the Bills losing 13-12 to the Eagles. In that win, Drake May threw for 5 touchdowns, including one to Stephon Diggs, who had 6 catches for 101 yards. Other notable scores from yesterday: the Browns upset the Steelers 13-6 to keep the AFC North race open. The Raiders lost 34-10 to the Giants to gain the inside track on the first overall pick. And last night, the 49ers beat the Bears 42-38 in a shootout to keep their hopes alive for the NFC's number 1 seed. After that game, the NFL announced the Week 18 slate. The Patriots will play the Dolphins at 4:25 on Sunday. It'll be a 1:30 pregame here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Patriots get the 4 o'clock window to match up with the Denver Broncos, who are playing the Chargers at that same time. The Patriots would need a win and a Broncos loss to clinch the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. Other standalone games are the Panthers and Bucks, Seahawks and Niners, and Steelers and Ravens, all for division titles. The Celtics suffered a 114-108 loss. The Portland Trail Blazers on the road last night. The Seas turned the ball over 20 times. That included 6 in the fourth quarter. And the Bruins are in action tonight visiting the Calgary Flames. Coverage starts at 8:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Boston Prolotherapy. Don't let joint pain keep you off the court, course, or trail. Eliminate that pain with Dr. Franke of Boston Prolotherapy. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Over Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Boston's best sports talk. There's an app for that. Download the Sports Hub app for loads of stuff. Absolutely free. Connect with the shows, get podcasts, and more. Get it where you get your apps. Or at 985sportshub.com.
My buddy and me.
With friends like these.
About to climb up a tree.
You know.
We're the best friends you can be. My buddy and me.
Now, more of your best morning buddies. Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Around the NFL with Toucher and Hardy. Hits a button.
All right, it's time to go around the NFL on Toucher and Hardy.
Around the NFL is brought to you by Joyce Cooling and Heating in Nashua. Give your home the gift of a new Lennox heating system and save up to $4,400 in rebates and tax credits. Schedule online at joycecool.com. Happy New Year from Joyce.
All right, first stop, a disgusting effort by the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. After seeing the Ravens do what they did in Green Bay, undermanned, no Lamar Jackson, the Steelers go to Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland has nothing to play for. Aaron Rodgers, everything in front of them, and apparently Myles Garrett, he thought they were more concerned about him and his record than winning the game. Something like that.
To an extent, I feel like they were more worried about keeping me away from Aaron than getting the win. And I think that's what came back to bite them. So they'll have to fight it out with Baltimore next week. But I'm just proud of the guys for fighting and getting this win. That's the main thing.
So I thought it was a joke what they did, 6 points in the whole game with everything. I understand that DK Metcalf, bonehead, wasn't out there. But, I mean, come on. You're supposed to be a playoff team. Arthur Smith, you got to be better than that. You got to find a way to produce more than that in that situation.
Rodgers did not want to be the one who took the sack for Myles Garrett to get that record.
Why?
From what I saw,
Who
that
cares?
was clear. He does, clearly. Didn't want to be on that replay. But this is kind of who the Steelers have been all year. They've run hot and cold. Also, they've lost in Cleveland, I think, like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Correct. Now. But it's not so much that they lost, though. The offensive
how
output.
they lost.
Well, they had been putting up points. They went to Detroit and had a good day. They had been scoring, and that was pathetic.
Meanwhile, you mentioned the Browns had nothing to play for. Technically true, but I wonder now. So they have 4 wins. There's a handful of teams with 2 or 3, right? They actually have it right here. So they're currently 6th in the draft order. If with that win, does Shedeur buy himself another year? Because they're probably not going to pick high enough now to take a quarterback unless they trade up. And they do have 2 first-round picks. They do have the Jags' first-round pick. But did Shedeur with that win buy himself another year?
I would not go with Shedeur. Where did you say they're picking right now? 6th?
6th.
Okay. I don't know what type of quarterback's going to be there. I would still
probably a
classify
2-quarterback draft.
I would classify them as in need of a quarterback. I just don't believe in Shedeur long term.
So maybe they bring in a veteran to compete. Maybe they bring in like a Malik Willis or Jacoby Brissett or somebody like that. But you got Vegas ahead of them as a quarterback team. The Jets ahead of them as a quarterback team. Arizona ahead of them as a quarterback team.
With that being said, if there's a quarterback there that you don't love, I wouldn't just take a quarterback. Because you still could just see how things transpire. I don't believe in them long term. They're in a bad spot. Surprise, surprise, the Cleveland Browns. Another interesting game, Indy and Jacksonville. Jacksonville just continuing to find ways. They were down in this game. They end up coming back. Trevor Lawrence finding a way to get into the end zone.
First and goal for the Jags. Quarterback draw. Trevor Lawrence, second time today. A rushing touchdown.
Well, we showed you in the first half. No one runs the ball. Only a couple guys in the league run the ball more in the red zone than Trevor Lawrence.
On a neutral field, who worries you more, the Broncos or the Jaguars?
I think the Broncos, because the Jaguars kind of let go of the rope yesterday against the bad Colts team. And I still wonder, they run hot and cold. I don't think they're this good. I think they're playing very good football right now, but I think they're on a heater. And I think them coming back down to earth drops further than the Broncos.
So that will be interesting. Their performance in the playoffs will be interesting. They've been there. They've won a play. Trevor Lawrence has won a playoff game. If I remember right, they weren't pathetic in that game against Kansas City a few years back. They have found a rhythm without Travis Hunter. It's an interesting team, and I can't wait to see how they do in the playoffs.
Well, they were on the right side of that the 31 point
Yes.
lead, right? Or 30-point lead the Chargers
they
blew?
came back. Yep. That was a classic.
That was a fun one.
We'll see what happens. That's a part of the history of Justin Herbert, so he'll have stuff to obviously play for come the playoffs. The Vegas Raiders and the New York Giants, well, Kevin Harlan and Trent Green, they explained what the two teams were playing for yesterday.
So as we said when we came on, the Giants with the loss officially would get the number one pick. If the Raiders lost, it is still in question. And you have no comment on that.
I don't. What? Nobody's trying to lose, right?
No, exactly.
As players, all I can talk about is from a player standpoint. And if you're out there, you're putting yourself on tape, right? And you're putting you've got to go out and give it your all. And so I know as players, Max Crosby, as Melanie told us at the beginning of this, Max Crosby's like, I don't care about the draft pick. I'm going out to play. And ultimately, he was shut down this week and put on IR, but I can tell you, all those guys that are on the field, this means something to them.
Okay, so the Giants end up destroying the Raiders. So the Raiders are now, what did you say? They're in line for the number one pick if they lose in the last week.
The Raiders, yeah. So they're the only 2-win team in the NFL. If they lose next week, they get the pick.
Okay, so this is interesting to me, and I've had this conversation with Mike. He doesn't want to hear it. He actually gets angry. But this is the difference. The way the Patriots did it, I feel like is the best case scenario. Instead of being the Steelers, a team that's always okay, and Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields and these guys come in, but you're never winning anything, which, by the way, will happen again this year. If they make the playoffs, they'll lose in the first round. I think what the Patriots did is what every team hopes for.
You have to bottom out.
You bottom out, and you find the quarterback, you make a good hire, owner, and you get what the Bears have. You get what the Patriots have. That's, I think, in today's NFL, the way to do it. And that's unfortunate, but that's today's NFL. If it was 1998, you could win with a running game and a defense and a quarterback that was a veteran that knew how to play. That was fine back then in 2002. But this isn't then. And you need elite quarterback play. And I know we've seen it from guys like Sam Darnold has had a great year, but let's see what he does in the playoffs. And, the Raiders, they got to make the draft pick. They got to hit, but at least they'll be in position.
So there's been this veteran quarterback resurgence. Obviously, the Rams won a Super Bowl at Stafford, but you look at what a guy like Sam Darnold has done. Baker Mayfield has had some success in Tampa, things like that. Those are the two. You either have to bottom out or you have to hit on the veteran quarterback, saying, we're going to sign some guy in the middle, and draft in the middle isn't going to do it.
But you have to have a lot of things going your way. For example, you have to have an excellent defense like Seattle, and maybe the best receiver in the league.
And I'd say even for the Buccaneers example, they kind of bottomed out and drafted the rest of that team. Yeah. And then added Baker. So
they had Brady first. They bring him in.
Well, they sort of bottomed out with Jameis.
Yeah.
And drafted that team and then had Brady Because there's still a lot of pieces in place with Baker that were there.
I just think it's nice, but those teams usually don't win the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, I don't view him in the same prism as Darnold and Mayfield. I think he was a level above them. He's never been the elite of the elite. Maybe that changes with an MVP or whatever and a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. But I still think I'd rather have the guy, and unfortunately the best way to get the guy is to bottom out. It might not do any good if you're the Jets ownership group or if you're whatever Davis is in Raiders Vegas now, but you got to have the quarterback, man. It's got to. I feel like it still has to start there. Joe Burrow, speaking of the quarterback, having fun again. Cincinnati and Arizona playing yesterday.
Joe, I know this season hasn't gone as you hoped, but you've got back-to-back wins with 300-plus yards passing. How much fun is it for you just to be out here playing this game with these guys?
Yeah, it's fun to go out and play well. I just wanted to come back and get back out here and go to war with the guys. So, today was a good performance. We had one last week. We got to stack another one next week.
It's a shame. I mean, a team like the Bengals, at least they made a Super Bowl. A team like the Bills, it is a shame to blow this period of time when you have these elite quarterbacks and you can't. I mean, they should be. The Bills have at least converted. They've been around knocking on the door. The Bengals should be knocking on the door of the AFC Championship game every year, and they've had trouble being in the playoffs.
Well, you wonder what it would have looked like if Burrow was healthy this year, because now that he's back, they're playing well. But between Burrow, Allen, and Lamar Jackson, at what point do all of these guys look at Matthew Stafford getting out of Detroit and say, like, that might be what I need to do? Because
a good point.
At least for Burrow and Allen, those are not franchises that have historically had success. The Ravens had, so that situation might be a little different. But, if you're, and it was kind of floated with Burrow when he had that weird press conference earlier this year, that does he get to a point where he says, I'm not going to be able to do it here?
This is a bad day to say this, but the team I keep going to is San Francisco. I know Brock Purdy was awesome last night. They're in line for the 1 seed, all these things. But if I'm the 49ers, I would make a call on Lamar Jackson.
Well, remember, Shanahan didn't want Brady.
Yeah.
So, I think it's so there was some reporting out of Baltimore with Lamar Jackson about like maybe Miami, maybe the Raiders and Brady. And then I think the other team you look at, if any of these guys ask out, is the Rams. Like, if Stafford, let's say they win it all this year, does Stafford hang it up and go out on top? And, does Sean McVay try to do that same thing again?
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he would, and I'm sure they would be interested in exploring that option, because that's a proven coach. They've found a way. I mean, they've figured out a way to not just sign guys, but they've drafted some players too. I mean, it was Cooper Kupp the first time. Now it's Puka Nacua. He's the guy. It was Aaron Donald, and I don't know who their defensive stalwart is now. Is a couple of those cornerbacks are pretty good, and I mean they're a good, well-rounded team. Yeah, but that's it's still the trendy head coach, Los Angeles. It's going to be attractive.
It's always going to be attractive.
So, I from a fan perspective, I like to see the Bengals in it. I think that's more interesting. Joe Burrow's a good player. He's been a clutch performer. He's always had the Chiefs number, sort of, in the playoffs. He's beaten them a couple of. So I just feel like that's a better team to have in the. Like I'd rather see them in than the Steelers.
Right.
But we'll see. The Ravens.
The Bengals are the best team in that division. I truly believe that. And injuries caught up to them, so they're not going to be in the playoffs. But
the defense was awful early in the season.
I still think they're the best team in that division.
They figured it out. I mean, I thought they figured something out against the Patriots. The defense, where they at least weren't horrific, embarrassing. And they just too late. It was too late, and they blew that game in Buffalo. What would have happened if they lost? If they had won in Buffalo, would they still be in it right now?
I mean, they'd be 7-10, so no,
they'd be out of it anyway. Okay.
But who knows? Maybe if they win that game, because they got eliminated from the playoffs right around then. Maybe they show up a little more against the Ravens the next week when they got their doors blown off.
And they lost 24-0. That's right. Okay.
Right. Because now they're 8-8, and they're right in it.
Then they could have been right in it, and if the Steelers lost, okay. So who knows? But
they weren't that far away.
No, that was a tough game to lose, though, that one there. All right, so that's what's going on around the NFL. The Patriots, we're going to reset when we get back. What's the Patriots situation right now? AFC East champions, and going forward, what are we looking for? Bob Sosci will join us at 9 o'clock. Mark Dundaro, Alex Barth on Toucher and Hardy 98.5, The Sports Up.
Toucher and Hardy. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
the Josh Allen 2-point conversion. And when you watch it from behind, trailing the play, there is a guy, there's a linebacker sort of in the passing lane, which is I think that was just enough to spook Allen.
He's trying to throw it around him.
He was trying to throw it around him, where all he had to do was put a little bit of air under it, lead, enough so Shakir could run under it. So you have to lead him enough. You don't want the guy who's chasing Shakir to close and knock it away. But if you just let him a little bit more, put a little more air under it, Shakir could have run under it. It would have been safely over that linebacker. I think he just panicked and try to, zip it in there, and it was just too far wide because there was a guy, if you watch from behind, he was sort of in the way of where you'd want to throw it in that moment. And I think Allen was just dead set on zipping or ripping it in there, and it was very wide, and it wasn't close. Patriots do what they need to do, though, in convincing fashion. It was a scrimmage. It was a spring game at MetLife yesterday, and Drake May made it look really easy. What was your primary takeaway from the performance yesterday when you first came away from watching what they did to the Jets, Alex?
Just that game itself I think that's what you want the gap between the Patriots and the Jets to look like. And there were questions going in. They had all these injuries. Was it going to be something that they were maybe going to have to stumble through a little bit? And instead, they just came out, they rolled. First 6 drives were touchdowns, barely any resistance, and that's what you wanted to see. Like it feels like a number of things we're going to be looking at in the playoffs. We talked about this earlier. Drake May's connection with Stephon Diggs, the way the running game's going, some of those young receivers stepping up. The things we're going to be looking for heading into the playoffs, things you want trending in the right direction, started trending in the right direction. And look, I know they're playing the Jets, and the Jets are terrible. I get that. I'm not saying Drake May is going to throw 5 touchdowns in every playoff game. But a game like that can give you momentum.
Sure.
And it doesn't have to be that every time, but it helps you. It's kind of like, I don't want to say glorified practice, but like you get to work through some things and everybody can get on the same page and figure out where they want to be. So I think a game like that before the playoffs is valuable. Maybe it doesn't mean much just in terms of where they at compared to some of the better teams in the league, but I think it's valuable reps for those guys.
Who are your 3 most important players on the Patriots not named Drake May? Give me your 3.
3 most important players on the Patriots.
Yeah, the 3 guys that you would say going into the playoffs are most important.
In no particular order, Diggs.
Diggs is on my list.
I mean, we've seen what they look like without Milton Williams.
Milton Williams is on my list.
So he has to be on there. I feel like those 2 are clear. After that, the offensive line's gotten by without Will Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
So he's important. Is he top 3? I don't know. It gets kind of tough after that.
Christian Gonzalez? I'll give you my 3rd.
Who?
Kayvon Chason. Is that outrageous? I just think I need a playmaker. Okay? And I'm not saying Gonzalez doesn't make plays or can't make plays, but I just feel like that's a guy that could step up and be sort of an X factor if he can make a play. He had a sack. Wasn't he the guy that sacked Mayfield at the end of that Bucs game?
Yes, and he forced the fumble last week against Baltimore.
So that's what I'm talking about. They need a bit more playmaking. And while they do, I've called them a professional defense all year. It's a professional group, especially when they were playing better early in the season against the run. They look better. I just still think they could use a player here and there, a playmaker to emerge here and there, outside of just being a solid professional group.
That's fair, especially in that pass rush. That's fair. I think you hope that's Milton Williams coming back, but if Chason can be that guy, that'd be great too.
That was sort of one of my takeaways. I just want to know, and the other one was what I alluded to earlier. I feel like Drake May is going to have to run the ball. That's going to have to be a part of what they do in the playoffs, and it's going to have to be design runs. Be smart about it. You don't take. You have to take hits and stuff like that. You can still slide, but that's going to have to be part of what they do.
I still would rather them run him not enough than too much. And not enough doesn't mean 0, but I'd rather err on the side of caution there. And you saw it ever since they broke that first one out. Really what running Drake May about is to me, because they have 2 good running backs, and both those guys are playing well right now. You just want the other team to have to respect it. You want the other team to have to consider it. So it slows everything down for the defense especially when you get down in the red zone in the short yardage. And I still want them to lean on the running backs in those situations. I want them to do it with May just enough that the defense has to consider it. And I think they're doing it at a good rate right now. Like, you didn't need to run him yesterday. You really didn't. Even that quarterback sneak, I'm like, in this game. But when you get to the playoffs, you maybe mix in one or two, but I don't really need to see much more than that.
I guess what I'm saying is, if they get into a scenario where they get locked up, like we saw in the second half against the Bills, where they couldn't generate any momentum, couldn't get a first down, couldn't find a rhythm, I want you to have something in a playoff situation, a win-or-go-home thing, in your back pocket that you can turn to. And if that's Drake May designed runs, I want that prepared.
So that's it. Yeah, fourth and game. If his legs are the way to go, then yeah, you run the ball. You
Not even fourth and game. First down, and we can't move the ball. We haven't moved the ball. We have no rhythm. Get May out on a creative run and let him try to get a little 8-yard gain to pick up a first down.
Yeah, I just really don't want them to have to rely on it.
I don't want that either. But I mean, if it's the playoffs, if they need something else, if the defense isn't playing great or the running game isn't there, you got to have everything you can.
Yeah, no, obviously you have it at your disposal, but I think the real benefit in Drake May running the ball, like, he's a good runner. I don't want to say he's not a good runner, but the real benefit in Drake May running the ball is the threat just existing should open things up for the running backs.
I mean, look, they won the game. They won it in convincing fashion. They end up winning the AFC East. I am not as convinced. I'm not as convinced that they're going to dominate at home in the play. I mean, I just don't think they've been as good at home. They have not. I mean, it's a fact. And am I worried? Do I think that's going to be something that's going to cause them to lose? No, of course not. But I do think it would be very good for them to establish a dominant performance in a home playoff game, or at least a solid performance where they go out and win a home playoff game. And that would really go a long way in getting them back on track at home, because that's something that has to happen. For now and for later going forward.
You got to be able to take our home field advantage. Now, the thing is that home field advantage in New England comes later in the year. It doesn't come earlier. So it's going to be cold. It's going to be nasty. Might be wet, right? We'll see. And if you have the Chargers, who are a dome team, Southwest, if you have the Texans, a dome team, the Jags, a Southern team coming up here, like, we'll see how much they can take advantage of that home field advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some of those teams are, you know, when you get a situation, I don't know. The Colts back in the day, they were a dome team. I mean, that was the thing. But they also played like a dome team. You know what I mean? They were always, it was the quick passing game, and it was the finesse passing game. I don't feel like the Chargers do that. They kind of run the ball. They plod along.
They're a little more smash mouth, but I think everybody now, relative to 2003, is a finesse passing game.
Yeah.
Just how the game has changed.
Yeah, I guess at that time, there weren't as many teams. Like the Colts were one of the few teams that played that way. And the fact they were in the dome, I used to love that. I used to love how they would come out of the dome and just be a shell of themselves.
Watching Peyton Manning come up here in a cold, his face would be all red and, just... Oh,
you know something I wanted to ask you? I wanted to bring this up.
What?
Just because I was thinking about it. We were both younger. But 2001, I'm sure you know enough about 2001.
I remember 2001.
Yeah. How does this regular season for you compare to what we saw in 2001? Obviously, you can't compare the postseason, what they did in the playoffs. Like, forget about that. We don't even know what's going to happen in these playoffs. The regular season, how does this surprise year compare to that surprise year to you?
I still think that year is, and I was much younger, so I don't know. And that was like the first year or second year I really followed it, like in a game. So I don't have a great perspective for this, but
sure.
Tom Brady was a 6th round pick who had never really played behind a guy that got the franchise record contract, the first overall pick. Like, Brady wasn't, not that Brady was, he wasn't that guy yet, but it was clear he was a really good player. Versus Drake May was a 1st round draft pick, and we saw him a little bit last year. And I don't think anybody thought Drake May was going to be this good, but the majority of us thought Drake May was going to be good. Like, we were talking all summer about they should be a playoff team in large part because of Drake May. Nobody was saying 13 wins, but a playoff team because of Drake May. When you lose your franchise quarterback, I don't know that anybody's looking at that and saying playoffs. So maybe the extent to which they've overperformed is a bigger surprise this year, but just overall surprise, I still go 2001.
Yes, surprise-wise, probably 2001. Surprise-wise.
Yeah.
I think I'm having more fun this year. And I'll tell you the reason why. I had a blast that season.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what was going on. They lose that game to the Rams. That was November 18th. They lose by a touchdown Sunday Night Football. You think they're good, but you didn't know. And then it's like, okay, hey, they're right there with the best team. People thought that was the best team.
They kind of were punching with them.
Then they don't lose again. Saints, Jets, they won by a point. The Browns, the Bills, they just don't lose again. And that was a great run. But this year, first of all, after how bad it had gotten, the whole Belichick thing, I think the Belichick thing kind of factored in. But how many, I enjoyed this. How many weeks did we sit back? Now, we're not doing it as much anymore, but we look at this throw Drake made.
Right.
Now, because he does this. We know he does. But that was so enjoyable to me, especially as somebody that sat here before the season and talked about how important it was for the second year to be the year where Drake May emerges, because that's what the best quarterbacks do. In their second year, Mahomes, Jackson, they're winning the MVP or threatening for or going to the playoffs. And all. We talked about how it had to happen now, or at worst, late the second half of the season. That's when you had to find it. It couldn't be, well, let's see, he had some nice progress this year. Next year we'll no. It has to happen.
I remember being on with you. We're talking about by Halloween. By Halloween was when you got it. And it took him about a month to really get going.
And it happened.
Yeah.
It officially happened. So that's good for all of us. But I just loved early in the year. Look at that throw to Diggs in Buffalo. Look at the one in Tampa when he was falling over and he got it to Williams or Diggs or whoever it was. It was Diggs. Remember that one where he was getting dragged down?
Yeah.
And he hit him on for the first
in Buffalo,
down?
Yeah.
Oh, that was Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
He made another. There was a ridiculous throw down the sideline to, I forget who it was to, in Tampa. It was a deep ball. Who caught that pass? Was that Hollins?
Matt Hollins.
Hollins caught that one. I mean, there were so many throws over the course of the first half of the season, even now, where you look at it and be like, that was a ridiculous, unbelievable. How did he do it? Look at the talent. Look at the even lesser ones, like the throw. He made a couple in Buffalo to, there was one to Booty right on the sideline. Yeah. He had a perfect read down the sideline.
Cover two.
Cover two. He made a perfect throw. The throw, there was a throw in Cincinnati to I think it was to Douglas over the middle. How did he see that? How did he read that? So many of them over the course of the year. That's almost been more enjoyable to me to see him become an MVP candidate than it was. It's great to see the Patriots, but they had been to a Super Bowl. The defense played well. I didn't expect Brady to be what he became. But from a fun perspective, I think I've actually had more fun.
So
this year.
maybe that's what the difference is that I don't think anybody in 2001 was looking at it and saying, wow, the next 20 years are going to be great. I think you looked at it in 2001 and said, this team is fun for what it is. I don't know how much there will, outside of talking about, and obviously during the regular season, like you said, it became clear in the playoffs, but talking about Brady versus Bledsoe, who do you keep? 2001 was really about 2001. It was about that year being great. This year, I think people are looking at it, rightfully or wrongfully, I think a lot of people are looking at it and saying, wow, the next 10 years are going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Because of some of those highlights from Drake May and other things. It's like, this is what, and you never know in the NFL, right? It's a year-to-year league, but I think a lot of people looking at this and saying, this is what the next 10 years are going to be like.
And we'll see what happens. But these things, we saw what happened in 2001. I'm not saying it's going to happen again. And the Celtics are obviously very good. The Red Sox are in a different place, but it did get contagious in 2000. After the Patriots won, it felt like it got a little contagious.
It does. No, it does. I've said this for a while.
This will shake John Henry awake.
Yeah, right.
The Drake kid can play. Oh no.
Well, no, there is something to be said. I've said this for a long time. Like, all the teams in town, it is cool how they all get along with each other, and they do stuff on social media and they'll do stuff at the games with each other. But at the end of the day, they are in a sense competing businesses. If you're a family and you're looking to go to a game, and not everybody's going to 10 or 12 games a year, maybe you only go to 2 or 3 games a year, and that's just what you have budgeted. Are you going to go to the Patriots? Are you going to go to the Bruins? Are you going to go to the Red Sox? Are you going to go to the Celtics? Right? Mm-hmm. You're buying your kids jerseys for the holidays. Are you getting them a Patriots jersey? Are you getting them a Celtics jersey? Like, there is that competition there, and so I think when one team starts winning or two teams start winning, the other teams don't want to get left behind. And you saw that in the early 2000s, where once the Patriots got going, then the Red Sox have that massive offseason. What do the Celtics do? They go out and they get the big 3, and then the Bruins get there. So I do think I don't think it's just contagious. I think that there is real, tangible, there's something behind when one team starts winning in the city. It should, I guess it doesn't have to your point about Henry, but it should force the other teams to step up a little
Yeah,
bit.
Henry, I mean, he's in a different place.
Right.
I'm just saying, but I'm just saying, back then, you would see how the fan base reacted to the championship. And as a competitor and as somebody, how could you not want to experience that? I think it did motivate some of those teams.
And that's just it, is all those teams back then, none of them had won.
Right.
None of them had won. And then everybody kind of started winning
the
at the same
86
time.
Celtics with the last title before that, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, look, again, some of these guys have won. Tatum, they won. But even as just Drake May, if I'm Jason Tatum, and I'm not saying Drake May is better than Jason Tatum at his sport. I'm just saying you're going to look at the other top guys in the region, and he does that really well. He's really good in this spot, in this type of game, in this.
Right.
I don't know why that wouldn't impact you. That would impact me,
And I think those guys have talked about at times like relating to one another. And I mean, I grew up with, it was a very clear Mount Rushmore. It was Brady.
Yep.
It was Chara. It was Ortiz. I like to say Pierce because he was my favorite. A lot of people say Garnett. I'll give you whichever one you want there. It's Paul Pierce. And we're kind of getting back to that. It's Drake May. It's Jason Tatum. It's David Pasternak. It should have been Rafael Devers again.
Yeah.
We'll see how the Red Sox catch up. Maybe it's Garrett Crochet. Maybe it's Roman Anthony. Right? But we're kind of getting back to that.
Yeah. So that would be nice to see. Things would have to change in other places, in other situations. But all right. All right, more of this when we get back. 617-779-0985. Bob Sosci will join us at 9 o'clock. Mark Darnero, Alex Barth. This is Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Patriots are the AFC East champions for the first time since 2019. They clinched that yesterday, took a pair of results. First, the Patriots with a 42-10 win over the Jets. Drake May throwing for 5 touchdowns in that one. And then the Patriots got some help out at Orchard Park with the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Buffalo Bills 13-12. The Bills failed a 2-point conversion in the final seconds. Other notable scores from yesterday: the Browns upset the Steelers 13-6 to keep the AFC North race open. The Raiders lost 34-10 to the Giants to gain the inside track on the first overall pick. And the 49ers beat the Bears 42-38 in a shootout to keep their hopes for the NFC's number 1 overall seed alive. After that game, the NFL announced the Week 18 slate. The Patriots will have a 4:25 kickoff next week against the Dolphins. They're playing at the same time as the Denver Broncos, who face the Chargers. The Patriots need a win and a Broncos loss to get the AFC's number 1 seed. The Celtics suffered a 114-108 loss. The Portland Trailblazers on the road last night. C's turned the ball over 20 times, including 6 in the fourth quarter. And the Bruins are in action tonight visiting the Calgary Flames. Coverage starts at 8:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Awaken 180. Happy holidays from Paige and the entire Awaken 180 team, wishing you a season full of joy, good health, and happiness in the new year. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update in 30 minutes.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
I'm telling them now.
Like, it was a lot of close games, even starting off with Miami. Miami, we had some special teams. We had a lot of complimentary football. So I feel like that kind of played a part in the direction we went. Luckily we won, but it kind of gave us that, okay, we can play with anybody. We can close out some tough games. We can find a way to win. So now that we kind of fast forward at this point, it's just like carrying that identity and it kind of standing true to what we believe in and working hard and finishing. And, we're on the right track. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I would say the Patriots are on the right track. We'll see how much track they have as we get into the postseason. I wanted to ask you, I want to play a game with you, Alex.
Okay.
Play a game?
Let's play a game.
We're playing a game. It's called Bigger Deal, Smaller Deal.
Okay.
Featuring Travion Henderson.
Okay.
He is the subject of the game. Bigger deal, smaller deal. So I'm going to give you a name, and you tell me if Travion Henderson, overall, based on what we've seen in his rookie season, is a bigger deal or smaller deal than the name I'm going to give you. And the first name I'm going to test you on.
Okay.
So if you need to pass, he was before your time, but you can pass. But he had a big rookie season as a running back for the Patriots.
Is it Robert Edwards?
Robert Edwards or Travion Henderson? Bigger deal, smaller deal?
Robert Edwards was really good as a rookie, but then it ended very abruptly. Hopefully it doesn't happen. I'll go Travion Henderson.
Okay, so it's interesting. Edwards, a little more consistent. Henderson,
so we're talking about who is the best player, who means more to the
bigger
team?
Deal. Based on what they did, who's the bigger deal? Potential, what they've accomplished, production, all of the above.
I'd go Edwards because running backs in general were just a much bigger deal, meant a lot more back then. So I'll actually go Edwards.
It felt a little bit bigger. I think Henderson didn't quite feel as big as Edwards just because he was like every game it felt like 80 to 100 yards. It wasn't. But Henderson, he's got, 2 or 3 really big games, huge games with these electrifying runs. And then the other ones, pretty good. The numbers overall are there, and he's going to be a big part, I think, of the offense, and I like his game. But if you're talking about the overall week-to-week production, I think Robert Edwards at that time was the bigger deal. All right, bigger deal, smaller deal. Travion Henderson or Stephen Ridley?
Henderson. Ridley was a good player, but he had those fumbling issues, and he didn't have the big play explosive element that Henderson does.
Okay, agreed. I think Travion Henderson. Ridley had a good second year. Henderson, I think, is going to be based on the electricity and some of the big plays, the home runs he can hit. I'm going to go with Henderson on that one. Now you're going to get to current guys. Okay. Bigger deal, smaller deal. Travion Henderson or Marcelo Meyer?
Marcelo Meyer was like such a high draft pick and was kind of banked as the future of that organization. Football's bigger than baseball, but I think I have to go Meyer on that one.
I'm going Henderson. I think Henderson is a bigger deal because he's done more than Meyer has.
Henderson can become a bigger deal, but right now he's in a platoon.
Okay.
He plays running back. Meyer plays shortstop.
Okay.
That can change. That can change very quickly, but right now, slight edge to Meyer.
Fine. Bigger deal, smaller deal. Travion Henderson or Morgan Geekie?
Morgan Gee's going to score like 50 goals.
Dropped off a little bit recently.
He has slowed down. I'll go Travion Henderson.
I'm going to go Geekie. I mean, I just got to give the nod to the guy. He's been leading the league, and he's played unbelievably. He could be on Team Canada come the Olympics. We don't know. I'll go Geekie on that one. Bigger deal, smaller deal. Travion Henderson, Kayshon Boutte.
Kayshon Boutte. This team's been waiting for that kind of receiver for so long. The Patriots have bbeen so wide receiver starved. Him having the kind of season he's having is very
I'm going Boutte. I think Boutte is the bigger deal. He's been a little bit more, I don't know, available is the word, but I just think he's been a little bit more consistent. There's been more games where I've seen him make some plays.
He might be one of the best receivers Bill Belichick ever drafted.
So really, they're going to need him.
That one's closer, I think, than I made it sound, but it is Boutte.
I would go with Boutte. Travion Henderson or Peyton Pritchard?
Travion Henderson.
Bigger deal than Peyton Pritchard. Okay.
Yeah, maybe not. Pritchard, he hit some of those big shots late in games. He won a title. There's so many different things you could base this on. Like,
yeah, no, I get it. It's not. I'm going to go
thinking,
Pritchard.
like, if you went around Boston and pooled 100 people, like not sports fans, 100 people, who would be the more recognizable name? Do you know who Travion Henderson is? Do you know who Peyton Pritchard is?
It's a good question.
I feel like more people would probably say Pritchard because he's been here longer and he won a championship. But
yeah, I'm gonna just because
I think Henderson's potential is so enormous. It's a tough one.
It's enormous, but he hasn't tapped it fully yet. So I need to get him to get to that point before I can. Last one, Travion Henderson, bigger deal, smaller deal. Brian Bayo.
Oh, Henderson.
No question.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably the easiest one you've asked me.
Okay. Good. Charlie McAvoy.
Well, McAvoy's going to be playing for Team USA in the Olympics. So McAvoy, if we're doing Q rating kind of thing, I think it's going to be McAvoy.
Yeah, I think you got to go with McAvoy. I just wanted to throw because you answered so quickly to Bayo. All right, we got to get to break. Bob Sosci, the voice of the Patriots.
Bigger deal, smaller deal. Henderson or Bob Sosci?
Bob Sosci. He's not even close. And he'll join us next here on Toucher and Hardy. Mark Dundaro, Alex Barth in for the guys. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub.
from 13 losses to 13 wins.
Amazing.
Under head coach Mike Vrabel. And the Patriots take another step toward the AFC East Championship as the Bills ready to play the Eagles today in Orchard Park. And New England remains in the hunt on Denver's heels in search of the number 1 seed in the AFC playoff tournament. The Patriots to host the Miami Dolphins next weekend, day and time to be determined in Foxborough. It was an MVP type of performance today for Drake May in front of a crowd dominated by Patriots fans who watched the game, dominated by the Patriots players.
I think he played himself back into it. I do.
All right, back here on Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Alex Barth. And we are now pleased to be joined by the voice of the New England Patriots, the voice of the AFC East champions, Bob Sosci. Bob is brought to you by Bigelow Tea. By now you should know that Bob starts every game with his favorite Bigelow Tea. No matter how hectic your day gets, be sure to grab a mug of Bigelow Tea and tea proudly. Bob Sosci joining us. Bob, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Mark. Good to hear you this morning after listening to you and Joe on the way to the airport yesterday. Did you get any sleep, Alex? You too? And I know you're always burning the midnight oil.
Yeah, we did. We came out of here after the game. We saw the end of the Bills game, and feeling pretty good after that. Got a little bit of sleep, and we're back. So let me start with this, Bob. How does it work for the lead play-by-play man of the New England Patriots coming off? You get the win, then you see that the team, you end up being AFC East champions. Are you in the back of the bus there taking shots and smoking stogies with Vrabes?
No, not quite. I'm not even on the same bus.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm within 3 buses of where Vrabel was when the Bills lost to the Eagles. That 2-point conversion pass by Allen sailed incomplete. But I was on a bus. There are a number of buses, obviously. Some take players and coaches. Others take the support staff, including the radio crew. Not that we're necessarily there in support of the Patriots on-field staff. So I was on the bus, of course, with the radio crew, media relations, social media team, videographers, etc. And a number of us had our phones out watching the Bills-Eagles game. And it was interesting because not every stream was timed. They weren't synchronized, let's say.
Okay.
And so some of us reacted sooner than others, but it was a pretty joyous ride home from that point on when we got to Gillette Stadium. Then obviously I think everybody has seen the pictures by now, the video of the players with their caps and T-shirts in that carport at Gillette Stadium. So it's a pretty cool scene. I've been a part of now a number of teams that have won division titles. And when I started for the Patriots, calling games in 2013, it was taken for granted. And I remember being scolded by one of our co-hosts in the afternoon for referring to a division championship because that was expected. It wasn't necessarily something to be celebrated, but they had every reason, every right to celebrate last night for sure.
Certainly, something that the organization shouldn't be taken for granted now. And you mentioned it at the end of the broadcast, 13 losses to 13 wins. There's a million ways I could ask this question, but what is the most surprising part to you, Bob, when you look at the season in totality and culminating with this division championship? What surprised you most about how this year unfolded?
Mark, I just think it's overall the reason why it unfolded the way it did. And it's not just Vrabel and the culture that he instilled. That doesn't surprise me that he was able to affect the cultural change in the locker room. But what does surprise me when I think about where he was at the end of last season as a promising quarterback who still had a lot of question marks, and particularly going into this season, back in the spring, learning Josh McDaniels' offense, handling new responsibilities, trying to mesh with a number of new receivers, the offensive line changes in front of him. The way Drake May has been so consistently outstanding for this team with but a few hiccups along the way, and the way he's just not only grasped McDaniels' offense, but I think by now, in a lot of ways, mastered it. The distribution. I go back to the fourth quarter against the Ravens. Not only was he near perfect, but he completed passes to 6 different receivers. And then you think about yesterday's performance. 1 out of every 4 completions, in essence, was a touchdown pass and was to a different receiver. Just the way that he knows to get the ball to the guy that's open on the play and delivers his accuracy, his poise in the pocket, his maneuverability. I mean, I think all those things that we've seen him improve on over where he was week 2, week 3 of this season. But he's taken all those physical gifts that he had that we saw in flashes last year, and he's melded them now with the poise and for lack of a better term right now, the intellect of an elite tier quarterback, and it's been fun to watch.
Bob, along those lines, obviously Mac Hollins, is a big blow. How important was it to see Drake May on the same page as some of those younger receivers? You mentioned him spreading the ball, but we've seen him on the same page with Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs and some of these guys. Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm, the guys that haven't played as much, his chemistry with them. What stood out to you about that yesterday?
Yeah, Alex, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily something that we're going to see continue in the playoffs. When they start to, I think, maybe pare the rotations down a little bit. The Kyle Williams or Efton Chisholm is going to be a replacement for Mac Hollins. I'm not suggesting that. Right. But I did say at one point late in the broadcast yesterday, notwithstanding a drop pass that he had on a beautiful ball from May over one defender and in front of another along the sideline, I thought what Kyle Williams showed was extremely important because we know he can run the go route, and he's made some outstanding catches on those deep balls to the near pylon of the end zone on both sides of the field. But to me, I thought really a positive step for him yesterday was that ability to run the proper route, timed up with May in space, in the Jets zone defense, and to read the coverage the way he did and make some plays that, I think are easily overlooked. And of course, Efton Chisholm, the payoff for him of the effort he's given for this team from day one and the reaction from his teammates. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know, just how much everybody else celebrated in terms of how likable and how popular he is and how much they respect what he's put into this season to get to this point. So I think those are two things that really bode well for them beyond 2025-26 going into this playoffs. I was very encouraged by that.
So let me piggyback off of what Alex just asked, Bob, and ask a question in a different way. Obviously, Drake May, vitally important, obviously. Yeah. We talked a lot about Milton Williams and what it will mean to get him back, Stephon Diggs and what he's done the last few games in December Diggs and all that. Can you identify right here and now a definitive X factor for the Patriots as we go into the postseason? If there's one guy that could really step up or show out in a big way that could really benefit them in a playoff situation, who would that be for you?
Well, Mark, to me, it's got to be the first guy you mentioned, and I'm not sure he's an X factor because we know he's one of the stars on that defense, one of the most pivotal players on that defense, in concert with Robert Spillane in Milton Williams, and then the Patriots linebacker, who's been absent, obviously, for several weeks now. Because I think when you go into the playoffs for this team and you look at, likely matchups, they're going to have to be better up front defensively. The run defense, the last 5, 6, 7 weeks, you go back to week 10, really, against Tampa Bay, it's been porous. And I think, obviously, they've got to shore that up. We're thinking about, potential matchups for this team. And I said off air last night, when it was clear that Pittsburgh was going to lose at Cleveland after Rodgers threw that final incomplete pass there in the waning seconds, and I said to producer Mark Capello in Zone, I said, I'm not sure I'd want to see the Ravens again because, as they proved last night, they're probably not going to take Derrick Henry off the field in that game. And the Patriots couldn't stop him the first time around. So they've got to, I think, shore up the defense, certainly. They've got to find a way to get more pressure on quarterbacks. Even yesterday, they sent extra rushers at times, and they got to a quarterback for one sack. I think there was another sack that might have been nullified. But you're talking about a guy who sacked 17 times in the previous 3 games. So they've got to get more pressure, I think, but it starts really with that defense up front in terms of containing the run game of the opposition.
Bob, how about the special teams yesterday? They allow the fake punt, but much better in kickoff coverage against a really good unit. We know in the playoffs it can come down to the margins on that. What'd you make of the special teams effort yesterday?
Yeah, I thought overall pretty good. Except, obviously they did convert on that one pass from the punter to play over the middle. Schooler was in safety position and kind of closed a little bit too late. I think for me, Alex, the thing is really it's going to be contingent on what healthy bodies come back. Because as you've seen in your guy that charts this, a guy like Jack Gibbons, for example, he's off the field more now from the core units that he was a vital part of for most of the season, just because of the number of defensive snaps that he's had to get, and really taking over for Spillane, in essence, at that linebacker position. Well, now if Robert comes back and you have Spillane out there for what they expect, again, 90+% of the snaps defensively, or at least in that neighborhood, now there's the opportunity to put Gibbons back on those 4 core units. So I really do think it is a domino effect, and it's something you forget about often in the kicking game. Because a guy who's a starter on a core special teams unit, he's really a starter at 4 positions or for 4 different units. And then all of a sudden he becomes a starter defense. Obviously, he's playing a lot more snaps on defense than he's playing on special teams. But at the same time, you're losing a critical piece off of 4 different units that can affect the outcome of the game at any time.
I want to ask Bob, we talked about this in the post-game show. I didn't necessarily agree with Joe Murray, and I want your perspective. He kind of alluded to the concept that the Patriots might be going into the playoffs with house money based on the expectations and what they did last year, and they're going to be trying to win a playoff game for the first time in a few years. Do you see it as house money, or is there significant pressure on this team to kind of validate the schedule and what they've done this year and win a playoff game with a quarterback that's been in the MVP conversation all season?
Well, Mark, unlike Joe Murray, I'm not a betting man. And so, who am I to just, take issue with that analogy? I think the Patriots have played their way into expectations at this point as a 13-win team, particularly when you look at the landscape of the NFL. For example, if they made the playoffs and they were going in, and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City was doing what they've been doing for the last number of years, and Josh Allen and the Bills were the team in the East atop the division and, living up to the expectations that people forecast for them. And the Patriots, were a nice story, a pleasant surprise that really, we're just taking the next step in trying to rebuild to where they once were. But the way this season has gone and how well Drake May has played and how well they have played on the road, whether they, play only home games in the playoffs, or if Denver wins that number 1 seed and the Patriots are fortunate to advance and have to go on the road, I don't think you can use the analogy anymore that it's house money, just because of the way this season has unfolded and the kind of expectations they have created for themselves. Whether in the big picture, you look at, again, where they were and the work that needs to be done to make this roster more complete in the next 2 to 3 years, whether that's realistic or not, but that is reality in essence.
Yeah, let me just take it one step further, and I don't mean to be negative here, but just from a macro perspective, is there any way this season could wind up overall a disappointment based on what they've done and what they've got coming up?
I think disappointment in the moment, for sure. Mm-hmm. If they, for example, if they were to lose, the opening playoff game, and or if they were, to be at home and to fall and not play well. If they played more like they did in week 1 against the Raiders or week 3 against the Steelers, I think disappointing in the moment for sure. And maybe there will be lingering disappointment. A lot of it will depend too on how the postseason unfolds. Whether you go back, sometimes you say, well, if the Patriots had beaten the Broncos in the AFC Championship in 2015, they would have rolled over the Panthers in the same way that Denver did in the Super Bowl. That often, I think, it adds to the lament, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of it will be, in the moment. But I think when you take a step back and you think about where they were, where they are, where they intend to go, for me, again, I just think about, and I said this yesterday to one of the Fox broadcasters I was talking to, Adam Amin, I said, they're improved in so many ways, but a lot of positions where they have improved, they now need to build the depth. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the mission in the offseason next year, the year beyond, in the drafts and in free agency, especially with all the cap space that they have. So I think big picture, you take a step back in time, maybe it wouldn't be such a disappointment if we're going to play the hypothetical. But I think for sure in the moment, because of, again, the expectations they've created for themselves in contention for the number 1 seed, right, going right down to the wire at 4:25 next Sunday, anything that falls short of maybe getting to a championship game would be a disappointment for fans.
Yeah, they really haven't played an entire bad game all year. They've had bad moments and half or whatever. But yeah, if they came out and just put a dud on out there. That would be certainly disappointing, and we'll see what that would linger into in terms of the offseason or whatever. The one thing I just wanted to end on, Bob, we were talking about the season and, Drake May, obviously, and the performances and what led to him becoming an MVP candidate, and I'm just wondering, you've watched every snap of Drake May this year. Do you have a favorite play, a favorite throw from Drake May that you go right to when you think of what he's done this season?
Oh, there's so many, but I would say probably the throw to Diggs against Buffalo, the one down in the right.
He's rolling to his right. Yeah.
Rolling to his right.
Yeah.
That's certainly one of them. There was another one where he's rolling, going in the other direction. I think the 2 throws to Kyle Williams overall. To me, you can't make better throws in those situations than those particular plays. So I guess those would be the ones I would immediately point to. But, then there are other ways too, Mark. I would say, the scramble sometimes where, he's got the 2 hands on the ball and the eyes are downfield to try to, take it to a higher level of analysis. Not that I know anything about quarterback play, just the things that I think show the significant ways he's grown, maybe more subtly when you watch the videos, because it's not the spectacular plays, let's say, but it's the plays of a quarterback who really has taken the coaching points and put them into his game.
All right. Certainly plenty of Heisman moments for Drake May this year. We'll see if that culminates in an MVP and how that all plays out as we go through Week 18 here. Bob Sosci, the voice of the New England Patriots. A pleasure to talk to you, Bob, outside of the toss that you usually give me after the game. So it's nice to hear your voice and ask some questions. But Happy New Year, and thanks so much again for joining us.
Hey, Mark, thanks. You too. Alex, you as well. Happy New Year, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Bob Sosci, the voice of the AFC East champion New England Patriots, joining us. We'll react to Bob when we get back. Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
wild story about when they knew they won the championship. That's all right. Guess that's to be expected. Professional. I mean, am I disappointed that they weren't able to win? I guess I would have preferred that the Patriots, won the championship on the field after a win, and they were able to.
Right, you wanted it to be the Buffalo game. That would
Yeah.
have been the ultimate. That's pretty good, and that's a cool moment for those guys. Like, I'm glad the social team shared that video.
Sure.
On the bus, watching that, they get back to the stadium, they get the hats and t-shirts.
They were already
take
set
that
up.
Picture.
Everything was right there.
Vrabel addresses the team in that garage area there, and that's a pretty unique moment too. It would have been cool to see it on the field, but that's a pretty unique moment.
There was an article on ESPN.com I read last night about the likability of the Patriots and how it's just a difference from what we saw with Belichick, because Belichick wasn't likable on the outside. I'm not whatever. I liked him, but from the outside looking in, he didn't come off as likable as Mike Vrabel does. And you talk about all the things Mike Reiss was talking about the wives and bringing the wives. I do think that is so good and important. I'm for that. Pretending, at least pretend. I'm not saying Vrabel's pretending, but acting like you care about the people that are working for you, the people that you're working with and their lives and I think that's what made Tom Brady really effective. We play for Tom, we work for Bill. Because Brady made it a point to become personal, have a personal relationship with the rookies, with the teammates, with the coaches. Brady, they wanted to win for Brady.
You heard it on that Fox broadcast last night. He kept raving about the season he spent with Brandon Cooks, and not just that Cooks was a great player, but his approach and how he was as a teammate and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think Vrabel that's part of you keep asking, like, how have they turned this around so quick? I think part of the reason is Vrabel has just tapped into something that has jump-started this chemistry and gotten everybody on the same page and has everybody pulling in the same direction. And that's not easy to do. You're talking about, first of all, it's 53 players plus the practice squad. We start with 90. And there's 53 players plus the practice squad plus guys that are on IR. You have a 20-person coaching staff, about the training staff, all that's a big. Look how many people are in that picture they posted last night.
Yeah.
And to get all those people going in the same direction this aggressively in less than a year, like just on a human element, that's impressive.
Yeah, and I do think, look, do I think the culture goes beyond what the head coach can offer? Absolutely. But it is a big factor. I mean, the most important aspect of the culture, I do think, is the Brady thing. And I just talked about him introducing and being personable.
Well, let me just cut in. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I think Drake May's done a good job of that, too.
Correct.
And I think there's less on his plate in that regard than there is Mike Vrabel. There will be more as he gets older. He's still a young guy, yet he's a starting quarterback and all that. But, like, the way that I think the relationship he's built with the receivers, the relationship he's built with the offensive line, all of that, that was something that was talked about a lot this year, was not just his development on the field, but how is he going to develop as a leader? And there was that clip I forget if it was OTAs or training camp, of Mike Vrabel kind of pushing him to be more of a leader and be more vocal and get more involved. And I think by all accounts, he's taken that and run with it.
We're not at practice all day, the whole time, but I feel as if the most important thing in terms of the culture is what Brady established in terms of holding guys accountable, the practice, the intensity at practice, and making sure that the practices made the games easier. And the expectation of not making a mistake and being locked in and having your full focus and treating the practices. What was the thing he said that I used to love? I showed my kids this clip because he said it again recently. But Brady was talking about how it wasn't just you go to practice and then when it came to Sunday, now it's time. No. Every time was time. Practice, everything you did all week. And that is what Brady established as the expectation. And ultimately, I think that was the most important culture that he set up. But I also think what Vrabel is doing is a part of what Brady did, is a part of what Drake May is doing. You hope that Drake May is doing a lot of what Brady did in terms of the practice intensity and, holding guys accountable between the lines on the practice field. But I also think that Vrabel treating the guys the way you'd want to be treated and making sure people know that they're appreciated. He says that after every game we hear him in the locker room. That helps. That helps morale. That helps keep guys in line, especially the winning. The winning obviously helps with that. but all of the above. And I think they've built a really strong culture, quarterback and coach, and we're seeing it. Now, obviously, being able to throw the ball, throw the crap out of the ball, and put it on a dime, that helps. But we are seeing an excellent, top-notch culture, and we're seeing it from both Drake May and Mike Vrabel, and I love it.
I think those two go hand in hand. You're talking about building the chemistry and the ability to throw the ball down the field. This is on me. I sent it to Garvin super late, but I don't know if you saw the clip of Stephon Diggs yesterday after the game talking about Drake May, and Mike Garofalo asked him, I'll just paraphrase here. Well, so there was that part of it. But before that, he asked him, did you know Drake May was going to be this good?
I saw that clip,
And Diggs basically says, no. He's like, I'm super proud of him.
Yeah.
So I think that when you see Drake taking those kind of strides, the offense, maybe the defense too, I think when those players see Drake May taking that kind of stride, to your point, Brady set the tone in practice, I think a little more demonstrative. That was just his leadership style. Yeah. I think with Drake May, it's, okay, if this guy's getting this much better, I've got to keep up with him. I've got to get that much better. And so it just sort of compounds.
Sure, but this isn't a talent thing. Talent's obviously important. That's huge. You need to have the talent or you're not going to be able to make the throws that Drake May has been able to make and all those things. But it's beyond talent. That's why I don't believe in Shedeur Sanders. That's why I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers. Because they have the talent. Sanders, the talent, fine. Rodgers obviously had the talent. But I think they're dog crap in terms of creating a culture. Why did Aaron Rodgers, I brought it up a million times. It's not that he won one Super Bowl. That's not the shocking part of Aaron Rodgers' career. What shocks me is that Aaron Rodgers went to just one Super Bowl. Because you can drag a bad defense, a bad coach to the Super Bowl, depending on the year and other teams that you're going up against in the playoffs. The fact that he only went to one is a complete and utter indictment on his career. And oh, by the way, yesterday, couldn't come back again in a game. The guy is awful in the fourth quarter coming back, and he couldn't do it again yesterday against the Browns.
7-10 career in the playoffs outside of that Super Bowl run. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I just think the culture he creates isn't close to Brady. It's not close. People don't like playing with him, or they kind of like playing with him, or some of them like playing with him.
Well, clearly they like playing. A couple of them like him because they keep following him from team to team to team.
Valdez,
Scantling, Allen Lazard, those kind of guys. Fine. But no, this is what we have the clip. Meanwhile, here's how Drake May's receivers are talking about him.
You talk about Drake. I just heard some MVP chants. What do you say about him? Did you know what you had in this quarterback when you came here?
No, I did not. You know what I'm saying? He surprised all of us. I knew he was going to be good, but I didn't know he was going to be this good. I'm just super proud of him. He approached this game the right way, man, and I look forward to seeing more of him.
If you had an MVP vote?
Drake May.
I tell you what, that guy.
So I'm as surprised as you guys are.
He's
played a big part in that.
Yes,
so
he
deserves.
And he's going to be
he deserves credit.
Huge. If they can keep that up, even just give me one playoff game where you have that type of production, and then maybe somebody else, because they've gone all year with different leading receivers. Maybe you can hold off until Mac Hollins gets back, or maybe Pop Douglas can find a way to explode in one game. I mean, we've seen that. We saw that in New Orleans. We've seen that in other parts of the season. Booty can have a big game. You just need. I mean, Henry, the tight ends, can do it. If they can get that type of production, I've been so impressed with Stephon Diggs to this point in the year. And they're going to need to continue to see that if they want the success in the playoffs. Let's go to DP is in Virginia. Hey, DP.
Hello, guys. How you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, basically what I wanted to break to you guys is that when it comes to the Patriots' successful season so far, it may come to a halt if they have to face the Buffalo Bills, in which, that may be the case. Simply because if you actually look at the Buffalo Bills, comebacks, even though they have been aided by the refs, has come against some of the most arrayed defenses, like in the Ravens and the Patriots, our beloved Patriots, and one of the worst defenses in Cincinnati. See, when you look at the Eagles were able to hold that off a bit, even though the refs tried to help the Bills out to beat them, simply because they have the guys, they have the horses. I feel like in order to beat the Island, you had to have some dogs, some guys that can really make life difficult for them on that football field. The Patriots don't have that type of personnel. That's why I feel comfortable if they actually were facing somebody else. I could feel like the Patriots could actually advance.
Let me ask you this off of the call there. Who would you be more intimidated is not the word, but apprehensive about facing again? The Bills or the Ravens? Because Bob brought up the Ravens, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Are Milton Williams and Robert Spillane back?
Yeah. Assume they're both back.
I'd rather face the Ravens. I just think facing a team a third time it just makes me nervous.
I hate it, especially if you're the favorite. I hate it. If you're the underdog, fine. They lost to the Bills the second time, obviously, so I think I would feel even worse, I think, if they had beaten them twice. To beat a team that good 3 times in a row is really asking a lot. But I don't know. I mean, the Ravens, they've got a better roster than the Bills. And if Jackson figures it out, that's why I was asking you earlier, if he has a big game in Pittsburgh, they win the division and they end up in the playoffs coming off Flowers against New England, Henry against Green Bay, and then Jackson against Pittsburgh. That's not going to be a team people want to see. Experienced. They've been there. They've got some studs. They're playing well. I don't know.
Yeah, I still think they have their flaws. I mean, every team in the AFC has their flaws. I still think they have their flaws. And outside of Derrick Henry, which is a big caveat, I actually think the Patriots do match up okay with them. But they'd have to be able to stop the run.
I would take Buffalo.
They need a better game plan for Zay Flowers, too. I was very surprised that he had
that, like Marcus Jones was banged up in that game, too. I kept waiting for them to switch Marcus Jones on, and they just never did. And I wonder if that's because he was hurt. But
I would rather see Buffalo. I think it would be a toss-up because they lost the second game. I think they've overwhelmingly played better than them in the 2 games, except for that second half. But that was sort of a crazy sequence. I would rather face, I think, the Bills if Lamar Jackson comes back and shows me something in the game against Pittsburgh, if it comes to that. If he comes back and looks like he's found it a little bit, I think I'd rather see the Bills and take my chance with that defense. Paul's in Abington. Hey, Paul.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. A lot of things that you're talking about. I originally called in because I just want to go back to a point that everyone always kept bringing up during the season, and that was the Pats' schedule and not playing, the greatest of teams. But then again, at the beginning of the season, those other teams that they had on their schedule were looking at it the same way, going, oh, we have the Patriots, back-to-back 4-win seasons. They're in a flux, all kinds of stuff going on. So I just wanted to bring that up as far as people forget that they were in the same position as the Giants and all the teams that you can name that are still crappy. I give a lot of credit to the Pats and the Bears because those 2 teams made the biggest improvements this year. But back to another thing you were talking about, as far as harmony, I'm a firm believer that in any sport, winning brings harmony, and winning is certainly bringing it to us now. The only thing I want to point out is that the 2 longest-running tenured teams, 2 of the top longest-running teams, the Lions and the Browns, never mind have never won a Super Bowl, but neither one have ever been to a Super Bowl. Detroit had a huge disappointing season. I don't care how big of a harmony that the Pats have right now. We'll talk about that in a few years. As long as they win a Super Bowl over the next few years, then you can bring that up. Because if they don't win anything, I don't care about the harmony part, if that makes sense. It's just a matter. It doesn't matter until they win a Super Bowl. So that's the bigger key part to that. And real quick, as far as your quarterbacks are concerned and winning Super Bowls and such, there is such more than enough emphasis on a quarterback for a team. I get it. I understand it that they're in the limelight or the spotlight. But the bottom line is, one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time in my book only made it to 1 Super Bowl, and that was Dan Marino. I will put Brady and Montana ahead of him because of the championships, but I will put Dan Marino ahead of everybody else. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I would take him in a heartbeat over Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. They both won 2.
All right, we're going to let you go on that. I think, thanks for the call. Dan Marino, something was off. You got to go to more Super Bowls if you're that good.
Or it's that organization. Again, you look at Stafford. What happened when he got out of Detroit and just started ripping wins? And to his other point, too, about the chemistry, nobody's going to give them a trophy or throw them a parade for having good chemistry. But you're not really going to win a Super Bowl with bad chemistry. It's a long season. You got to get along. You got to be on the same page, on-field and off-field chemistry. Like, we're not saying, no, that they have good chemistry so they're in a good place. They're in a good place because they have good chemistry, and you hope that leads to a title. But yeah, to your point on Marino, we talked about this earlier with Allen and Burrow. Those organizations historically have not succeeded. Bills have been to Super Bowls, but historically those are not organizations that are associated with consistent winning. At one point, do either of those guys or both of those guys look around and look at what Matthew Stafford did and maybe look at some other guys in the league and say, I want to win a Super Bowl. I got to get out of here.
Who do you, just randomly, and first of all, just for the Patriots, is there any team that you look at in the league and say they couldn't beat them?
So a team that's like definitively better than the Patriots?
They couldn't beat them. They wouldn't beat them. It'd be a really uphill battle, and I would not think they have a chance.
The closest to that would probably be the Rams.
No. I don't think there's a team out there where
I would
you
answer
can't
no.
beat them.
The only team, if you wanted to have that conversation, I think the Rams are just so well-rounded, and I think they'd be able to hit the Patriots in a lot of areas that they struggle.
Sure, they'd be favored.
They
but
kicked your ass last year, too.
They're not going to beat them at all?
No, the Patriots could beat them. The Patriots could beat them, but
if May and the defense shows up, they could beat anybody. Just real quick while I'm thinking of it, what team, what organization would be the biggest, if they won the Super Bowl, it'd be the biggest deal the league has seen in years? Would it be Detroit? Would it be Buffalo getting over the?
So I think I think in terms of just like the story, I think it would be Buffalo
because of all the heartache and everything.
Right. In terms of just like the most historical outlier, which one would it be? Like, I can't believe that organization has a Super Bowl. Probably the Bengals, or honestly, I know they have one, but just given the way it's gone, the Raiders.
Yeah,
and maybe Brady turns it around, but those two,
the Jets.
The Jets would be up there. That's true. The Jets would be up there.
They need Gary Vaynerchuk to find a way to buy that team. Somebody, they got to get out of that ownership. I don't see any other
the Panthers got a chance.
The Panthers,
they've been there, though. They've been there.
Right, the Panthers
have actually Super Bowl when I was 12.
They've been there. They've been there twice.
Right, they were there.
That's my answer.
So, I don't. The Panthers have been okay run.
Team. That team in 15 was good,
and they've made a couple other runs in the playoffs. Yeah. Like historically, they're not. Now their lows have been exceptionally low, but they've had some highs that some of these other franchises, like the Browns, the Jets, until recently the Lions, like they've had some highs that those franchises haven't had. Maybe the Cardinals. Yeah. Cardinals, I guess they had a couple of runs. They were in a Super Bowl with Larry Fitzgerald there.
Should have won.
Kurt Warner.
Thought they were going to win. All right, we'll wrap things up when we get back. Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, Toucher, and Hardy, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Patriots are your AFC East champions for the first time since 2019. They got a 42-10 win over the Jets yesterday behind 5 touchdowns from Drake May, and then got some help as the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Buffalo Bills 13-12. Failed 2-point conversion in that one for Buffalo in the final seconds that clinched the division for New England. Other notable scores from yesterday. The Browns upset the Steelers 13-6 to keep the AFC North race open. The Raiders won the Tank Bowl. The Giants technically won that game 34-10. So now it's the Raiders that have the inside track on the first overall pick. And last night, the 49ers beat the Bears 42-38 in a shootout to keep their hopes alive for the NFC's number 1 overall seed. Looking ahead to Week 18, the league announcing that slate late last night. The Patriots will kick off against the Dolphins at 4:25 at Gillette Stadium on Sunday. That puts them in the same window as the Denver Broncos, who are playing the Chargers. The Patriots need a win and a Broncos loss to claim the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Celtics suffered a 114-108 loss to the Portland Trail Blazers on the road last night. The Celtics turned the ball over 20 times, including 6 in the fourth quarter. As for the Bruins, they're in action tonight, taking on the Calgary Flames. Coverage starts at 8:30 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Delta Dental of Massachusetts, proud sponsor of the Celtics Radio Network, most valuable veteran of the game. Nominate a veteran who served our country for the chance to win 2 game tickets to an upcoming game and be recognized on the air. Visit the contest page at 985thesportshub.com today. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10 o'clock.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Have you tried Good Stuff Smokehouse, New England's premier #1 barbecue destination?
may have missed from the show. It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
All right, back to Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Alex Barth. One thing I guess you missed earlier was I called Alex AB on the air. Ryan was not happy. So I've called you Rye before. Does that bother you? Rye?
No, that's like an abbreviation. My mom calls me that too, and my sister. So just know that when you say that, but no, it doesn't bug me.
Okay, see, that's me tapping into the one-syllable thing. But you can't, I got to keep that in mind. You can't just start calling people nicknames. It's unbecoming and people don't like it. Who are you?
I would say that's not what makes me unhappy. My lack of happiness is what makes me unhappy. It's just AB. Like, I've known Barth for a little bit now, and when I hear AB, I associate it with Antonio Brown, and I think there's a couple differences between our Barth and Antonio Brown.
Just a few.
Not that many. There's a couple.
There's a couple. What about, so I asked you about Dondi earlier. What about, like, Dondo?
Nobody's ever, I guess it would have, so I guess if somebody did it to me, I would take it the way that I'm trying to give it out. I would take it as a term of endearment.
I feel like Dondo is a good nickname.
Yeah, I've never really. I think somebody called me that once or twice in college in jest, but I don't think that it's never stuck. But I could. If you want to roll with that, you break it out and let's see what happens. If you want,
AB and Dondo.
Yeah,
there you go.
Love it. That could be create some content surrounding that. I just think it's. I don't know. It's something I do, and I've never really asked people. I should. I've never really asked people if that's something that bothers them. But if somebody assigns you a nickname before you know them all that well, is that offensive? And
if a girl calls me by my last name, I'm like, I'm cooked.
Out.
That's not a good thing for me. It's like, what's up, Garvin? I'm like, you're not attracted to me at all, are you?
No, that's always a bad. You never want to see or hear that. That's a good one. Haven't been in that game in a while, but yeah, I remember thinking like, not good.
I'm a nice man.
Now there's a nickname.
Yeah.
I'm a nice man.
Okay. We don't really have my wife. I'll call her Babe, but I don't. I guess that's a nickname.
It's like it's like a certain kind of nickname.
Everybody has.
Relationship nicknames are different. It's its own thing.
Because every other relationships could use that. So it's
right,
not
and
really
it's also like you're the only one calling your wife that.
Right.
Nobody else is calling her that.
Right.
Whereas like a good nickname's like everybody's calling that person that thing.
But Felger calls his wife the Wood.
He does. Felger has an
that's
actual
a
nickname
that's
for
a
his
nickname.
wife. But do you think he calls her that like in person?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to say. I don't know. Maybe. But okay, we got to go. AB, Alex, sorry. Great to be with you.
Great show, man.
Happy New Year. If I don't talk to you, Rye, thanks for everything. Coming up next, it's Beetle and P Squared. No, sorry. It's Phil Perry, Mark Bertrand. Coming up next. Happy New Year. We'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow in the morning with Dan Roach. This is Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Alex Barth, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Bye.
Talk to you tomorrow. Toucher and Hardy on The Sports Hub.